Good afternoon, World Wide Web, and welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Dylan, and I'm all by myself today. For those who don't know, and I am on episode 68, so I will keep repeating this over and over again because I hope to get new viewers all the time. But for those who don't know, this is my weekly YouTube show that I do through Google Plus, and it appears on YouTube, and I send the link to everybody and stuff like that. But this is Dylan Knows. It's, as I said, my weekly video show where I take a discussion about different genres, sometimes with co-hosts, sometimes by myself, and we just chat for an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending, sometimes even shorter. It's not a lot going on. So let's get into that real quick because I do have some big news about that. For those who have been watching Dylan Knows, you know the pattern. The first Sunday of the month is my comic book show with MJ Khan, where we talk comic book movies, TV shows, and comic books also. Occasionally, believe it or not, we do. Granted, we're not as good as, say, Comicosity Hangout or Comics Therapy, but that's besides the point. We're still pretty interesting and entertaining, and MJ and I are pretty cool guys, I think. My second Sunday show is my list show with Gigi Fletcher, and we take a topic and we do a top 10. Like this past last weekend, we did the top 10 Saturday Night Live sketches / characters. Got a good response, and believe it or not, I believe Dana Carvey started following Gigi on Twitter after we did the episode, or before we did the episode. So that's fantastic. So possibly he might have actually watched the episode, which is great. I don't know if we used a lot of his characters, though. Sorry, Dana. And then usually the third Sunday of the month would be me and Larissa doing the supernatural / paranormal show. However, since this is my show, and I have decided that I will no longer be doing a supernatural paranormal show. Nothing to do with Larissa. Larissa's a fantastic co-host. She was my very first co-host I had, I believe, was the first episode we ever did of Dylan Knows was me and Larissa and Tony Solo talking paranormal stuff. So that was that was fun. We had a good run, but to be honest, of my 4 shows, it was the one that we pretty much covered everything we need to. We talked about ghosts, we talked about aliens, we talked about angels, we talked about cryptids, we talked about Bigfoot, Loch Ness, Bermuda Triangle. We talked about everything, and we pretty much covered everything. So there's not much more we can discuss about it because there hasn't been a lot of new sightings or whatever, and even if there is, it's the same old stuff. No one really knows the truth. So I made a decision that we're going to drop the paranormal supernatural part of Dylan Knows. But don't fear for Larissa. Larissa is such a great host, co-host, and a great, awesome woman that she'll occasionally be popping up on my other shows, particularly next weekend. She's tentatively scheduled along with the very same grandfather of the Snark Alex, Tony Solo, and my partner Bronwyn for Dylan Knows International, which is our 4th Sunday show where Bronwyn, who's from Canada, and I sit down with a group of people and we discuss whatever we feel like. And I'm getting Tony on next week and hopefully get Larissa on as well. And we'll be discussing something I wanted to discuss with Larissa on one of our paranormal shows that we didn't cover, but I figured it'd be great to get more than 2 people's opinions on it. So we're going to be talking about end of the world scenarios next weekend. We don't know the timing yet. It's going to be on Sunday though, but we don't know the time yet. It might be later in the day, possibly a 3 to 4 o'clock showtime, depending on Larissa's availability. So keep an eye on my Twitter feeds. I have here at the bottom at Holodill and at Dylan Pro Co are my 2 Twitter feeds that you can also send me questions during the show, because this show is my out of my head show where I just sit here and talk to myself and my 1 viewer who's out there right now, which again, well, 2 viewers. Ooh, nice. Which to be honest, that's just, I think, through Google. So there might be other people watching on YouTube and stuff like that. So But please, send me some questions. I will answer anything really. If I find it too vulgar or I don't want to answer it, I will skip it. But please, think about it. I already got one question which I'll answer in a little bit from Kurt Zellner, so that'll be great. But Larissa will be hopefully on next week's show, and then our friend Jonathan Ryan, author, who wrote Three Gates of the Dead, I believe is the name of it. A great paranormal book. The sequel to it is coming out, I believe, in February or March. So we're going to get him and do a special episode where it'll be the three of us talking to him again. And who knows, might get her back on again. So what does that leave for my third week show? Well, don't really know. I had planned to do a possible movie show, which I still probably will be doing. It's just a matter of getting logistics out. What my plan is me and a other Snark Alec or a friend or whatever who wants to be on the show. We will watch a movie the week before the show, and we will discuss it on the show. Pros, cons, what we liked about, what we didn't like about it, and just, sort of like a Siskel and Ebert type of thing. But still knows movies, But when is that going to start? I really don't know yet. I've got ideas for a bunch of shows, so that might be coming sooner than later. Until then, though, I might keep doing some of these out of my head shows, or I might be doing some special shows also, because every once in a while there is a fifth Sunday, and I do special shows on that. I've done Doctor Who shows, I've done a beer show, a Twin Peaks show, stuff like that. So there is other things I can do. So we'll still be doing fifth week shows. I will guarantee you we will be doing another beer show because that got well received. Mandy and I will be back probably in May, which I think is when the next one of the next fifth Sundays is, and it's perfect to talk about summer ales. So that's going to be fun. I still want to do a Harry Potter show. I'll work that out again, and keep chatting about Doctor Who and getting Doctor Who back in. I got some interesting news about Doctor Who, but I'll get to that in my TV segment in a little bit. So what are we going to do today then? All right, well, let me just double check the internets here and see if I got any questions besides the one Kurt sent me. But I do have a lot of stuff I do want to discuss. Plans for today include my take on the Oscar nominations, not necessarily my Oscar show, because I also do a special Oscar show. Last year was the first year I did an Oscar show. It was the night before the Oscar, so it was a Saturday night before the Sunday Oscar show. I originally was going to have Lisa Marie Bowman on, but unfortunately that day there was a death in her family, so she could not make it. And then I was going to get Patrick Smith to come on, and he was all set to go when his power went out, and so he was unable to go. So I did one solo by myself, and I did pretty good. I believe my record last year was 19-4, I think. 19-5, 20-4, something like that. So that will be excellent. And so we will do that again. And this time I will be getting Patrick Smith back, definitely. He's already agreed to do it. Just a matter of, if technical difficulties stymie him. Hopefully they won't. And I may get Lisa as well, but she told me that she may be away out of the country, so she might not be able to do it. So when it gets closer to that, we'll find out for sure. But I will at least have Patrick Smith on here as well to discuss our Oscar picks. But that's not what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to be just looking at the nominations. What are some snubs? I'm not going to make any picks on who I think is going to win because I got to do a little bit more research on them. But there is an interesting comic book movie connection between a lot of the nominations and stuff like that. So we're going to discuss that as well. Today is the what is it? And switching gears again, in the NFL, it is the championship games for the AFC and the NFC. The winners of these games go on to play in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, on February 1st. For those who like the NFL, it's a pretty big day. I will have my 2 cents on the NFL playoffs in a few minutes. See, that's what Out of My Head's about. I'm going to going from Oscars to NFL to getting old. Talk about how, I'm 40, how old am I? 41 years old. I'm going to be 42 this year. Talk about, I'm starting to notice my aging starting to appear the aspect of old age, how things, my appearance of what I always thought old age was about. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss my kids, because why not? Some interesting things going on with that. We'll be discussing other Snark Alex shows. Might possibly talk about some Martin Luther King, since his birthday's tomorrow, or his actual birthday was last week, but the observation of it is this week. And also some other birthdays. This last like 2 or 3 weeks of January is insane in my family for birthdays, so I'll hit some of that. What else? Talk about The Assistant, which is my other show. I do a fictional show called The Assistant, based in the Doctor Who universe. So if you're a Doctor Who fan, you might want to check out The Assistant. I will tweet out my playlist I have on YouTube. It has every episode I've done. I think I'm in the 30s now with episodes. And there's also some Talking Ass, or Talking Assistant, but they like to call it Talking Ass, where Tony Solo, Kelly Toole, and Mike Belinsky sit down and they dissect the episodes and make their observations and suggestions and their talk. So that's all in there as well. Got some TV talk coming up. There's some interesting news going on about the X-Files. There were some season premieres that just happened this week on Sci-Fi. Season finale that some people might be interested to talk about, and some interesting stories about Doctor Who. And what else did I have on here? I'll get to Kurt's question. And please, other people out there in the land, if you've got a question for me, please drop it in the Q&A here on Google+, or tweet it to me at Holodill or at Dylan Proco, and I will do my best to answer them. Of course, this is only for those who are live. When this episode is done and over with, and I resend the tweet, and you read this, you come to this section, or resend the link, and you come to this section of it, it's going to be too late. You should have been watching live, but oh well. And maybe talking some Lego movie as well. So I got a lot on my plate, some snow shoveling and some paranormal stuff. Even though there is no paranormal show, there is some interesting UFO related items that I'd like to discuss. So without further ado, it is now 12:42. I've been talking for 12 minutes about absolutely nothing for the most part. And now, time to get started. All right. First up. What's this? My first question? No. First up, the Oscars will be the big topic up here. But tell you what, let's go to the NFL. So please, this won't be too long, I promise. So those who are not interested in the NFL, just sort of zone out if you want to, or hear my opinion of it. NFL, National Football League, is not soccer. It is American football, which you have touchdowns and quarterbacks throw the ball, running the ball, tackles. Super Bowl is one of the most watched sporting events ever, coming up on February 1st. That's always a lot of fun. We go to a party that my wife's Dawn's best friend and her family throws, and we've gone every year. I think almost every year. There might have been one or two years where they didn't do one, but it's always a lot of fun, a lot of people, and just a lot of the kids get to go because there's young kids there too, so they can all play in the basement, and the grown-ups get a chance to have some beer and wine and some good food, and watch the game and watch the commercials and comment, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm actually looking forward to that. I will be doing a show. MJ and I will be doing our comic book show. We were threatening to do an all Super Bowl show if my team, the Ravens, and MJ's team, the Panthers, made it to the Super Bowl, but unfortunately they did not. Thank you, Vicky Adesso, for retweeting and favoriting my tweets. So now ask me some questions, Vicky Adesso. That's a running joke from the old Snark Alex radio days. So let's talk about the NFL real quick. My Ravens were knocked out last week by the Patriots. Pretty much their own fault. I really have no major complaints besides the fact that we lost, that the Ravens lost. They blew 2 14-point leads, which is really unheard of. When you usually have a 14-point lead, that's pretty good in a football game. And they had 2, and they blew them both. Some time management issues, some defensive issues, but it happens. But at least we made the playoffs, and I was excited about that after missing them last year. So who's that leave for the AFC? Well, let's talk the AFC since the Ravens are in the AFC first. That leaves the Patriots versus the Colts. Now, I despise the Patriots. And let me rephrase that. I despise Tom Brady, and I kind of despise Bill Belichick also. Bill Belichick is a damn good coach, and Brady's a damn good quarterback, but their attitudes and the way they present themselves are annoying to me, and I do not like them. So any chance that they can lose, I'm very happy with. So I do not particularly want to see them in the Super Bowl. However, their team this year is pretty good, and I have a feeling they're going to win today against the Colts. Colts struggling down near this season, still made the playoffs, still won their division, but they had been struggling and getting down to near the end of the playoff run. They've been looking bad. They've been looking a little bit better now, but Baltimore has some interesting connections with the Colts. That was originally our team back in the old days, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s until 1983 when they upped and moved. The owner at the time, Irsay, will just after claiming that he would not move the team in the dead of night to Indianapolis. And, kind of partially our own fault. Because we were losing faith in them, but they were putting out bad product. But, most times when you have bad product, you still need to support your team. So I'm not making any excuses for that. And also the fact that John Elway, who was considered to be one of the greatest quarterbacks, refused to play for Baltimore, even though we drafted him because he didn't want to play for John Irsay. And so we drafted him and then traded him to Denver. And that's rest is history, as it were. And to be honest, he's still screwing us to this day. Gary Kubiak, the Ravens offensive coordinator, is out there right now in Denver interviewing for the head coaching position and will more than likely get it. He was Elway's backup and then was a coach on the Broncos teams. And then, he and his family lived out in Denver for a long time. Has lots of connections to Denver. And he lost his job as the Texans coach last year after having a successful run until he had a bad year, and so they fired him. Ravens picked him up as offensive coordinator, and the Ravens had their best offensive season ever. And now he is going out to Denver. It was the only place he wanted to go. He already declared he was going to stay another year in Baltimore, but that was before Denver announced that they were going to get rid of their entire coaching staff. And so he's out there now. Elway's buddy, was his roommate, his backup, his friend, peer, and is really the only guy that he wants to hire for the job. So he's going to offer it to him. Gary Kubiak's going to say yes because he'd be crazy if he said no because it's a head coaching job. You're back in Denver where you've been for so long and very well received. So I have no ill will towards Gary Kubiak. And to be honest, I don't really have any ill will towards John Elway. It's a business. But still, I just like saying, he's screwing us again. Elway is. Anyway, they move in the dead of night, and for the longest time, let's see, that would be 16 years? No, hold on, 13 years. 13 years we did not have a football team in Baltimore. And what pissed me off most about that is the NFL, actually, I'm more pissed at because there was a time in the early 90s where they were going to expand the league, and they were going to expand the league to 2 teams. One was pretty much a given, was the Carolina Panthers, who we'll talk about in a second. That was pretty much given because there's no team between Washington and Atlanta. So you need to have, that's a big gap to have, no team. The second one, Baltimore was trying to get this expansion team, and they had the best program. We had funding in place for a new stadium. We had a rabid fan base who had been missing football, who felt they were slighted by the NFL, who refused to, even think about helping Baltimore out in any way. They did not force Irsay to keep the name Baltimore. I mean, technically, I guess he didn't have to. I mean, he was the owner of the name and of the team, so he wanted to keep it. But the NFL didn't do anything to try to draw that out. They also didn't help any in helping us get an expansion team or helping us, in any way getting a stadium set up. And I'm mentioning that because that comes into play a little later. So we had the best absolute thing. So they were going to announce both teams at one press conference. They announced one, the Carolina Panthers. So we're still working on the other one, which is ridiculous because Baltimore had we were in on time. We had the best group idea. Sales. It was a perfect opportunity to get a football team in there. It'd be great. No, he was waiting for Jacksonville to get their act together. They don't have the rabid fan base. They didn't have a lot of fans, and eventually they gave them a few more months to get more fans to sell out the first season. And they even, I believe, helped them a little bit try to get some funding for a new stadium or get the team there, whatever. And then they awarded the other expansion team to Jacksonville by giving them extra time to get their project in order. And the main reason why that I, to this day, still believe is it gives them another place to play a Super Bowl, because they're not going to play it in a cold weather stadium like where Baltimore would be in January, February. Yes, granted, they played in New York last year. That was more along the lines of a 9/11 response. And you're probably not going to see that again anytime soon. So again, we were screwed. And then the commissioner at the time said Baltimore should take their money and build a museum, because they're never, ever going to get football, ever. Seemed kind of an odd thing to say, right? Well, fast forward to the Browns and Art Modell. Cleveland was already putting money in for a new baseball stadium. They put money in for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they rebuilt a Coliseum for their Cavaliers basketball team. And I don't know if they have a hockey team or not. I don't think they do. But when Art Modell asked for a little bit of money to help refurbish Brown Stadium, they said, no, not going to do it. So Modell, who has always had a good connection to Baltimore, he had the Baltimore Colts marching band play in Cleveland during the time where when we didn't have a team, and always backed it up, said, well, then fine, I'm going to move to Baltimore. So he moves to Baltimore. And all of a sudden the NFL jumps and says, oh, that's not right. No, we got to do something about that. They say, oh, we'll give you a team in 3 years. We'll guarantee you a team in 3 years. And Art Modell, because he's a good guy, he left the name to the Browns so that their history, their name could be, the new expansion team could be the Cleveland Browns. And he wanted to start fresh with the Ravens. And that's what he did. And you might say it might be the whitewash version of what went on, but to me, that's all the facts that I heard. And to me, it sounds an awful like the NFL was just anti-Baltimore. And yeah, I can say that because I'm Baltimorean and I do have, probably a chip on my shoulder about certain things. As I will also bring up is our baseball team. We have a great stadium at Camden Yards. The Orioles have had a great 3-year run so far. We made the 2 rounds of the playoffs last year, almost went to the World Series last year. Great stadium. And we threw our name into the ring for the 2016 All-Star game. And be good revenue boost for Baltimore and good thing. And for a while, the Major League Baseball seemed, that sounds like a good idea, because they do this thing where, 1 year the National League has the All-Star game, 1 year the American League does, back and forth. Well, just recently we discovered, oh yeah, no, you don't get the All-Star game 2016. We're giving it to San Diego, even though 2015 National League team is going to get the All-Star game. 2017 National League team is going to get an All-Star game. So again, Baltimore gets screwed. The reason why? Well, Baltimore has had a All-Star game. We had one in 1994, I believe. And 93, I'm sorry, excuse me, 1993. And San Diego hasn't. And San Diego's fan base is not as good as Baltimore's. So they need a little something to get their juices flowing. So we're going to award them the All-Star game. Okay, that's understandable, I suppose. It's still, I don't like it. And once again, Baltimore feels like we're getting screwed again in that aspect. Same thing happened back a couple of years ago when we won the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl winning team usually starts off the new football season with a home game on a Thursday night. They kick off the football season. Yeah, they decided, no, we're not going to play on Yom Kippur. So and the Orioles weren't going to move their game, which is fine. I understand that, because both stadiums, the baseball and football stadiums, are right next to each other and they share parking. So it would be a horrendous mess. Okay, I can understand that. But move the date. No, we're not going to move the date. Why should we? So what happened? The Super Bowl winning champion Ravens had to start their season with an away game in Denver. And it was almost as if Denver had won the Super Bowl, because it was all the big excitement there. It was all the fun and frivolity and the exciting stuff. And it all happened in Denver. Baltimore gets screwed again. Yeah, I'm close to it. I'm in Baltimore, and yes, I feel slighted by our sports teams, not by our sport teams, by the leagues themselves, the NFL and Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball, not as much. I can understand maybe the logistics, but still, it kind of sucks because we do have a beautiful stadium and it just had gone under some refurbishment. It looks great. The Orioles are playing really well right now. Be good boon for the city. And I understand San Diego's a beautiful place. And I understand you want to try to get your attendance up in San Diego. And I also understand that you want to go do it at a stadium that you've never done before. I understand. I do. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt any less. And it does. And once again, still no questions from anybody in my Twitter links. That's okay. So I think that's all I'm going to say about that. Regardless, say the Patriots playing the Colts for the AFC Championship. The winner goes to the Super Bowl. I don't want to see the Patriots in the Super Bowl because I don't like them. As I said, let me rephrase, I don't like Brady. I don't like Belichick. I wouldn't mind seeing the Colts because, unlike a lot of other people, I no longer harbor any ill will towards the Colts. We've had a team now for 17 years. We've won 2 Super Bowls. We have a franchise quarterback. And who knows, maybe it was for the best that Cleveland Browns came to Baltimore, because if you look at what Jacksonville Jaguars are doing, they were good for the first couple of years when they were expanded, but now they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. Who's to say that couldn't have happened to us? Who could say that we could be one of the worst teams in football right now? But we're not. We're one of the best. And yes, it hurts that we lost. Game we should have won. But you know what? That's why you play the game, and there's always next year. We're going to be in the thick of it again next year. I guarantee you that. We were in the thick of it last year. Almost near the end, we just had a few setbacks and a bad year altogether, and we didn't make the playoffs for the first time in almost 7 years. So I have no doubt about that. So who do I want to win? I want the Colts to win because I don't want to see the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Who's going to win? Patriots are probably going to kill the Colts. Okay, let's move to the NFC. Once again, MJ Khan, his NFC team, Carolina Panthers, was the first expansion team announced back in 94, I guess. They made it to the playoffs, made it to the second round, and they lost a tough one to, I think, Seattle. So they're gone. So MJ and I will be talking comics on February 1st. However, they will be the NFC championship is going to be the Green Bay Packers versus Seattle Seahawks. Now, I don't really harbor any ill will towards either of those teams. I just do not want to see the Seahawks in the Super Bowl because I don't like having legacies, having multiple teams play in multiple Super Bowls unless it's my team. Then I'm okay with it, obviously. But I don't despise the Seahawks. I despise maybe certain players on the Seahawks, nowhere to the degree of Tom Brady on the Patriots. But I don't mind. And, I've never been a big college football guy, so I know all about Pete Carroll's history, and I know what kind of a jerk he is. But you know what? I don't really pay much attention to that. So I just don't want to see the Seahawks in the Super Bowl because it'll be their second time in 2 years. And I'd rather the Ravens would have been 2 times in 2 years or have their legacy. But I digress. I like the Packers also. And I really like Aaron Rodgers. And I think I'd love to see the Packers win this one and go to the Super Bowl also. That's who I want to win. Who I think is going to win? I think Seattle's going to win this one also. I think it's going to be a Seattle-New England Super Bowl. I will probably be cheering for Seattle then because I will not be cheering for New England. To be honest, that might be an interesting Super Bowl when you look at it from a football standpoint. But I'd rather have the Packers maybe take on the Patriots. That would be another interesting one as well. Or ideally, the Packers take on the Colts. That way, I win either way because I really don't care who wins or loses. So that's my NFL talk. Thanks for sticking around. I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I know that's not what you guys are here for. So what else is going on? Next level up. My son, Noah, is, as you may see, is ill right now. He's got a tummy virus right now, thrown up multiple times over the last 24 hours, I suppose you could say. So it was last 12 hours actually. He was last. Well, he threw up a little bit this morning, but it's always rough to see your kids not feeling good. And luckily tomorrow is a national holiday, so they'll be all school as it is already. We'll see how he feels after that. He does have a slight fever, and he does have a tummy ache. So, but he's a trooper. He's not whining. He's not crying about it. He just looks unhappy, which you're sick. Of course you're gonna look unhappy. I look unhappy when I'm sick. I'm sick now, and I not as sick as he is, but I'm unhappy when I'm sick. But no, he's a trooper, and his sister was real concerned about him, which is great. I love my children. I love the fact that they love each other as much as they do. They can get along with each other, and they still have their spouse. But your brother and sister, you're always going to have that. But you're also always going to have your brother and sister's back as well. So one of the things they did was they did some. I don't know if you've seen the ads for the Crayola marker maker, where you can actually make up your own colors of markers and draw. Well, Noah made this one. And he gave it to me. It's his, what he calls his turquoise. And he's 5 years old, and it's really, really great. Just want to test some stuff. He's doing really good with his writing, and I'm very proud of him. And I hope he starts feeling better. Luckily, Dawn will be home with both kids tomorrow, since schools are closed tomorrow for Martin Luther King Day. Meanwhile, Noelle, on the flip side, she's doing fine. She's real busy. She's playing basketball. Very proud of her also. Was able to watch one of her games last Tuesday when my dad and my stepmom came to the game also. And she's never played basketball before, and she's had only a few practices here and there. So she's not the best player on there, and she has a lot of trouble trying to get things, but she's 8 years old. It's her first time playing basketball. Start them. You got to start somewhere. I think I read an inspirational post or something that says even the best players started off having to learn the game or something like that. So even though you might be one of the greatest players of all time, say like a Peyton Manning or Michael Jordan or whatever, at one time you didn't know how to play, and you learned how to play, and you became one of the greats. So she's starting off now. And last Tuesday when she was playing, she was able to get the ball a little bit, took a couple shots at the basket, missed them by a mile, but you know what? At least she got the ball. At least she tried to shoot it, and she had a big smile on her face. And then she was able to block a person she was covering. She was trying to take a shot at the basket. She was able to knock it out of her hand. She was most proud about that, and that's the way it should be. You should be very proud of what you do. She's also in Girl Scouts, so that's keeping her busy as well. That's every other week. She also does dance class every week. She's in R&B tap now or something like that. So she's more contemporary tap music, tap dancing music. So she's enjoying that as well. And I can't wait to see her recital, which is going to be sometime in May. That is all she's doing. And at school, she's making phones. I just had to show you this. It's just one of the cutest things. She comes home every day with 3 or 4 of these. It's a phone, and she pretends uses the phone. She's like, hello, talking to my boyfriend, stuff like that at 8 years old. Adorable. Those are my kids. Now, Noah having the stomach virus, Dawn and I are suggesting ginger ale and saltines. So, have you guys heard that as your remedies for your sick tummies? I've done that before. I actually, the biggest thing is you need to get your fluids up when it comes to stomach viruses, because it's either throwing up or the other way, which I'm not going to talk about either. And so you lose a lot of water. So you got to keep your water up, or else you get dehydrated. I know I was hospitalized for dehydration back when I was in 3rd grade. I had really bad sickness, just lost water like crazy and burning up, and they had to take me to the hospital, and I spent a week in the hospital trying to recover from that. So it's scary and it's dangerous, and hopefully he was drinking a lot of water earlier today and was feeling fine. Then he threw it back up, but I think he drank too much. So hopefully he's gonna get better. Right now I'm worried about him, but I'm also worried about what's going to happen, because stomach viruses are very easy to catch. Dawn is particularly susceptible to them. She's usually an iron woman when it comes to other illnesses, but stomach viruses are her kryptonite. I'm susceptible. I remember when Noelle had one when she was 2 years old, and I stayed home with her. I got one like the next night, and for celebrating her second birthday, I was sick during most of that, so I understand that. So hopefully, none of us will get it, and hopefully Noelle doesn't get it either. If we do, we'll survive somehow. We'll figure it out. So, that's to be continued. All right. What's next? Let me just keep going on down the line. I mentioned The Assistant earlier. The Assistant is my fictional YouTube show set in the Doctor Who universe. If you have not seen it yet, I have, as I said, 30 plus episodes. They're all, I think the longest one might be 7 some minutes long. I got about 4 or 5 long ones. The rest are between 1 and 3 minutes long. And it is set in the Doctor Who universe without, in a variation, let me say, of the Doctor Who universe. It's all done first-person perspective. I use the camera on my iPhone to film the episodes. I am the only person so far. I got the kids involved a little bit, got my cat Jinx involved a little bit. And that's the way I kind of want to do it for this season. Right now, second season isn't looking promising because I'm running out of time. I don't have time really to do the episodes. Plus, I'm in a lull right now because my story has a specific ending, and that ending cannot happen until July. And I need to fill 7 months worth of stuff between now and then. So I don't think I can do it, particularly in this fashion. I'm going to try, but I'm going to probably be dropping from has been a pretty usually weekly format to a possible bi-weekly format where every 2 weeks I'll probably drop a couple episodes, 2 or 3, depending on what I get done. It takes a lot of time to film, and not a lot of time. I just need to figure out what I want to do, and I don't want to keep replaying the same things over and over again. But at the same time, I don't want to get too ahead of the story because I need to have that specific endpoint in July. You heard it here first. The Assistant will probably be going more on a bi-weekly basis, twice a month basis. It might even drop down to once a month. We'll see how things go. As I said, we're just getting that lull right now where there's not a lot that I want to get to. The big storyline will jack up during the summer when I'll be able to have more time to go out and do things. So we'll see what happens. But as of now, there will probably be no episodes tomorrow, and it'll probably be the next Monday. We should have some episodes, depending on if I can get some stuff filmed. I think I'll be able to next Saturday because Dawn and Noah will be down at her sister's house talking vacation. I normally would go with them, but Noelle has a sleepover with her grandparents, my dad and my stepmom. They're going to take her to go see the play Annie at the Hippodrome down here in Baltimore City. She'll probably get her nails done and do some other stuff, but she's going to be spending the night Saturday into Sunday. But they're not going to be able to get her for a little while. So someone's going to have to, stay here with her and transfer her to my dad and stepmom. So I'll do it. And Dawn will go down with Noah and they'll talk vacation. So we'll be doing our vacation thing next weekend. So that's good. So I probably, since they live down in Virginia, I probably will not drive down after Noelle gets picked up because it's really not going to be worth it because it's an hour and a half away and then only stay for an hour and then driving back. So we'll see what happens. So I'll probably be able to do some episodes around there. I just need to figure out what I'm going to do. So once again, The Assistant will probably be more bi-weekly, not every week, every other week. Sometimes it might be maybe once a month, depending on what I get done. And you know what? You never know. If I get a sudden, explosion of, creativity, as it were, they might get some episodes, might do a more weekly basis. So we'll see what happens. I've got plans, and don't worry. Once we get to summer, it'll be more of a weekly thing because I got a lot to wrap up and a lot to throw out there because it's some big changes coming spring and summer. You thought Christmas was a big change. Well, just wait till spring and summer hit, especially this summer when we get to the end of the episode, end of the season. So we'll see what happens. Birthdays. My nephew Drew will be having a birthday on the 22nd of January. My brother-in-law Jeff will be having a birthday on the 27th. My sister-in-law Catherine will have a birthday on the 30th of January. Dawn's cousins Bill and Emily, their birthdays are like sometime in that period as well, 29th, 28th, and like the 26th, maybe something like that. My brother-in-law Mike, his birthday is early February, and my stepbrother Ryan, his birthday is in early February also. So for the next couple of weeks, it's going to be birthday-rama here at Casa de Lang, as it were, with our family. So it's pretty interesting coming up. And then we take a little breather, and then we have a big one in March, and then big couple in March, and then a little bit of breather in April, a little bit of breather in May, and semi-big ones in June. Some big ones in July and big one in August, but that's about it. So birthdays spread out a little bit more, but January just seems to be more compacted. So that's what's going on with that. As I said, I'm just throwing stuff out of my head, and I'm just looking at my notes. There's a talk. I don't know how it is in your states, but Maryland is considering getting a bill into law, which would make schools start after Labor Day. Our school starts the week before Labor Day now for kids. When I was growing up, it used to be the day after Labor Day was the beginning of the school year for us. And we still had, a week off. Actually, we had a week off in February for Conservation Week, which was funny because it's just conserve energy. So they were going to shut down the schools and everything in February at the height of its coldest temperatures in Maryland. So it really didn't make a lot of sense, I guess, because we were trying to conserve energy. So, we'd just be taking the energy we would have at schools and changing it to our homes where we have the lights and the heat and TV and stuff on. So eventually they changed it to a spring break type of thing. So even though we started later, we still had a spring break, and, we ended school fairly early also. I mean, June 15th, 16th, sometime around there. The big hurdle that a lot of people that the law is having is that they're afraid that in order to fill that spot where, instead of starting a week earlier, if we wait till Labor Day, we've got to fill that week that we missed to fulfill the school's criteria. And they say that might mean that they have to drop spring break. Now, I don't think, as I said, when we started after Labor Day, we still had Conservation Week, we still had spring break. We had Conservation Week, which was our spring break. Then we had like a 4-day weekend for Easter, and then it got flip-flopped where we just didn't have Conservation Week at all in February, and then we had a week off for spring break. You can still conceivably do a week off for spring break also and still get your school closed at a basic time. Now, how do you fill those 5 days you're missing? Well, to be honest, this past school year, school didn't start till Wednesday. So you had only 3 days, and you can, if that's when you would start again, you could easily change some of these teacher study days that we have, because it's ridiculous. We have, Martin Luther King Day off tomorrow, which is fine. It's not ridiculous. That's good to have that off because you need to think about the man's legacy, and we're having the next Monday off because of a teacher thing, whatever. And then same thing happens in February where, we get President's Day off, and then the next weekend we have a day off for this teacher day. So you can probably cut some of those study days and you get to fill that way and still have spring break and still fill that. But I like the idea of starting school after Labor Day, mainly due to the fact that, Maryland has a big tourism, Ocean City, even though it's not technically part of Maryland, Washington, D.C. is still in Maryland, so people still go down to Washington, D.C. The Inner Harbor, downtown, out Deep Creek Lake, out in Western Maryland. And there's plenty of other, we got Civil War places you can go to, and parks and all kinds of, historical cities you can go to. It'll give you another week of tourism dollars, another week for families to be together. So you have the family togetherness. You've got another week of vacation where you can spend money on your state, go to a national park or go to Ocean City or something like that. So I think in the end, it helps everybody. And, I hope that gets passed because I'm okay with it. Noel has camp, and Noah is going to be allowed to do the camp this year also. So we're going to have both kids at the same camp. And if it's another week, it's another week. No big deal. That's fine. So there's that. What's the word I use for international? I can't think right now because I'm just not thinking right now. But an issue I have that just popped up recently. We had a snowstorm last Tuesday, I think it was. Not the like the 6th of January, something like that, where schools were closed, which was fine. It was about 1 inch to 2 inches of snow on the ground. And granted, we would have gone when I was younger, but nowadays that's a whole different rant. That's what it is, the rant. That's a whole different rant that I might do next week. But there was something interesting. So I stayed home with the kids because I was already going to be going into work late anyway because Dawn had an early morning meeting. So I had to take the kids to the bus stop at 9 o'clock. Found out schools were originally 2 hours late and then we're going to be closed. So I figured I was already home. Dawn was already at work. So I said, I'll just stay home with the kids and watch them. So one of the things I have to do is I have to go and I have to shovel snow. Obviously, I mean, you need to dig out your parking areas, your parking spots. You got to dig out your car. We do have plows come through, but they don't come through till later since we're a side street in a neighborhood. They want to hit the main roads first. So the plows come through, whenever. Sometimes it's early, sometimes it's late, depends. But, you go out there, you need to clear your sidewalk because you're in charge. When you have a townhouse like we do, you're in charge of your little sidewalk, at least to your house, and the area in front of your sidewalk as well. The sidewalk in front of your house also. I mean, technically, we probably don't have to deal with that because that's more the community, but we just do it anyway just to make it easier for people who are walking and stuff like that so they don't slip and fall and hurt themselves. And of course, we dig out our parking spots so that we have places to park, and that's always a big issue also because we don't have assigned parking. But, we have the unwritten rule where these 2 spots, which are in front of our house, should be for us. These 2 in front of your house should be for you, and so on and so forth like that. Not always the case. That's okay. And then when you get these big snowfalls, people get lazy. They don't dig out their parking spots. So someone works really, really hard digging out a parking spot, and then somebody comes in and takes it over. That pisses me off. But that's not what this rant is about. That's a whole different other rant. We'll talk about that later too. The one rant that I wanted to go on this is I was out there shoveling snow. I was cleaning out my parking spot, and there's 2 places I dump my snow. When you're close to the curb, I take the snow and I dump it right in front of the cars and make a pile in front of the cars, but keep an area clear so that people can get out of their cars and go to the house. And then when you go further in the back of the car, I take that and I walk across the road and I dump it in our common area type of thing, which is fine. But, what I saw on this snow day by 2 separate people incensed me. We had gotten our street plowed already. So it was already clear. It was fine. It was salted. Everything was good. The plow had already come through. So I'm shoveling the walk, and it's getting warmer. Sun's out. Stuff is melting. When I see one person, one of my neighbors about 3-4 doors down, was taking the snow off of their car and around their parking spot and throwing it into the middle of the road. It's already plowed. Can't you see it? The plow is probably not going to come back. You're just putting snow, which we wanted cleared, back into the road. What's the matter with you? Take a few extra steps, dump it in the common area, or dump it on your front yard, whatever. You've got eastern exposure to the sun. The sun's going to melt your snow quicker than it does some of the other houses who don't have the exposure. So it might look like a pile of snow. It's going to drop in a day or so as long as the sun stays out. Why would you do something like that? You can see they've already plowed. You know how it works. You've lived here about as long as we have. They plow once and they're done. They only plow more than once, if it's still snowing. They plow once early, and then they come back later if it's still snowing to clear out some more road. Then after I was done, yeah, granted, yes, the sun was out, it was melting more, but still you have clear road, clear road, clear road, pile of snow, clear road, clear road, clear road, pile of snow. Ridiculous. Then I was in the house. I was just coming out of my shower, shaving and brush my teeth, and I was just combing my hair, and I looked out of my bathroom window, and I can see up the road. Somebody else is doing the same thing. It's like, really? You're taking the snow out of your parking spot, throwing it into the road, knowing full well the plow's already come through and will not come through again. And it's getting late, so what's going to happen is whatever melts is going to be cold, it's going to turn to ice. It's going to become slippery. What's wrong with people? That's my rant for the day. I will have another one next week at Dylan Knows International. I'm moving right along here. Even though I said at the top of the show that we will not be doing a paranormal show anymore, supernatural show anymore, I still periodically may drop paranormal events, stories, whatever, into episodes of Dylan Knows. And I'm still a huge paranormal guy. I haven't been watching the TV shows as much. They're all starting to become the same again. They're not really finding anything new. And Yahoo has had recently a new update to their page, and episodes that news stories that I've always found interesting. You click on them, you read them. They find ones that are similar to what you like that, and they post them. So I clicked on a story about people seeing UFO watchers who have been checking out the feeds from the Mars rovers, finding all these strange objects and things on Mars, proving that there are living creatures on Mars. I've dropped a bunch of stories about that on the paranormal shows the last couple months, and go back and check some of those out. So I'm not going to get into that there. So, these stories still pop up periodically on my Yahoo news feed. So this week alone, there hasn't been as many lately, but this week alone, there's been 2 about a different heavenly body, the moon. And actually, one is about the moon, one's about the International Space Station. We'll go with that one first. That's the most recent one. I think I read that on Thursday. A UFO hunter who's been watching the live feed constantly from the ISS, because the ISS does a live feed from them showing the Earth, and you can see all kinds of cool stuff. Like you can see the auroras over the planet. You can see the Earth rotating. You can see your countries and other countries as well, and you can see the sun and the moon and all kinds of cool stuff. Well, so these people, it's you turn on and it's just a view outside of the ISS. Well, this one UFO explorer watches it nonstop, basically, it seems like, just to see if anything pops up, because there have been rumors of objects floating outside of the ISS just hanging around or whatever, flying around and get caught on the camera. Well, this guy found something really interesting recently, and he puts it on YouTube. I forget what it's called. I guess maybe you can look for UFO near ISS. If you type that in the search, you might be able to find this one. But he said that he was watching the live feed, and he saw something that he's never seen before on the outside of the ISS, and all of a sudden the feed cut out and didn't come back for like an hour or so. And he was able, I guess, to get a capture. I guess there might be some sort of way to go back and get a capture, and made a video out of it and showed some close-ups of the item, and it was a strange diamond-shaped item, but it's not like particles of ice or whatever. It was bigger than that. It looked huge, and it was on the outside, and literally the minute that popped into view, the feed cut. Now, as I said, I don't know how true this is. I'm just going by this guy's feed. He showed video of what it was and where it was and so like that. So is it possible that there are UFOs hanging around the ISS? Sure, absolutely. Then the other big story is Apollo 12, which was the second, I believe the second lander on the moon after Apollo 11. there was some video that was being sifted through by, once again, a different UFO hunter this time, and he noticed something weird in the distance of one and was able to expand it a little bit, and it was a odd shaped UFO watching them back in the 60s. Actually, it should probably actually more like the 70s, I should say, since it was the next one after that. So there's been a lot of rumors that, you know, the astronauts going to the moon have seen these UFOs, watching them. It's been either deleted out of conversations or excised, or they covered up. I don't know. But, you know, they showed this picture. When I first looked at it, I didn't notice anything. And then, of course, when they, you know, they expand it, you actually see it. It looks different, and it says it's, you know, hovering there, and it's not like, once again, detritus or debris or whatever. It's something that's odd. So there's been a lot of talk about UFOs lately. There was another one mentioned that there was a feed from a satellite that's been circling the sun, and they've noticed a giant object, looked like it was refueling from the sun. So there's been a lot of recently from official NASA, ESA, whatever, feeds of strange objects flying around. So are we possibly getting prepped for a possible first contact scenario? Who knows? But absolutely go on YouTube and look up some of this stuff. You know, look up giant object by sun, Apollo 12 UFO, ISS UFO. Even if you want to check some of the Mars stuff out, I mean, there's some stuff that, you know, is just rocks and stuff that look like certain things, but there's some interesting things as well that you might want to check as well. So that's the end of my paranormal talk. I did get one comment from my co-host, MJ Khan, from the comic show. This is about my discussion of the snow shovelers. MJ responds, "They will do that because they are self-centered sons of bitches that only live in their own little world and don't care about anyone else. People like that piss me off." They piss me off too, MJ, and that's why you're one of my my best co-hosts, one of my faves, my bud. We had this agreement. Yeah, I mean, it pisses me off to see that, because I take that extra 1 or 2 steps. And these people aren't old. They're not elderly, okay? They're people my age or younger who are doing this. So me carrying shovels full of snow and dumping it in our common area it's a couple of extra steps, okay? It's not going to kill you. You might hurt in the morning. I'll tell you what, I did hurt in the morning, but that's all about me getting old too. It did hurt in the morning, but you know what? My road was clear. I cleaned out my parking. In fact, I cleaned out 4 parking spots, because we have R2, and then we've got 2 that are like for visitor spots. But I've been doing that starting last year. I've been clearing those other ones out that are empty, because it goes back to, if we've cleaned out something, cleaned out our area, and somebody parks in our spot, you know, that pisses me off. So then we have to park in the snowy areas, and that could be dangerous. So what I just do is I just go and I just clean up 2 more spots there that are the guest spots. That way, if someone's coming down, they need to park, they're not going to take my spot. There's 2 spots right there they can just pull right into, and they'll be fine. And they're closer, so people being lazy will say, "Oh, okay, these are closer. I'll just pull into there." And even then, if they pull into my spot, my wife or myself or whoever, we can have one of these other spots also. It happens. Now, speaking of old age, I've been noticing I've been getting older. I am 41 years old. I will be 42 in June. I don't feel 42. You have I guess when you're younger, you have a specific idea of what it's like to be in your 40s. And, you know, you have, so old, you know, and it's, you know, old, it's ancient, you know, it's not. Once you get to the 40s, you realize you're not really any different than you were in your 20s. Yeah, in your 20s, you might have more energy. You have less to worry about. You don't have responsibilities. You can drink more. You can have sex more. You feel invincible. But as you get older, you start having to deal with do responsibilities. You got to get a full-time job because you got to support your family. You find that special someone, you marry them. You may have some kids, may not. There's some people who I know, some friends of mine who've been married longer than I have to Dawn. They only have one kid. We've got two. And there's those who have 3 or 4 kids. We only have 2. Whatever works for whatever works for anybody. And then there are those couples who don't have any kids, which is also who've been together for a long time also, which is also fine also. Be it they don't want to have kids, which is fine. They can't have kids, which is sad, but we understand. When I was younger, I guess 41, 42 seems so ancient and old. But when you actually reach it, it's not. I don't feel that different than I did 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I don't think I look that different than I did back then. I might have a couple more wrinkles, a bit more, black under the eyes, whatever. But I have been noticing a lot more gray in the hair, gray in the beard, especially in the beard. It's weird. I don't shave every day. I shave every other day. And so I grow, my facial hair grows like a beast almost. And I see the silver streaks in there a lot more than in my hair, but I've been noticing a lot more in my hair recently. One of my proudest things is that I've had 20/20 vision my whole life. I've never needed glasses. My dad needed glasses. My sister never really needed glasses. I think she needed some reading glasses when she was in her 20s and 30s. My mom never really needed glasses until she was in her 20s and 30s. My dad always had glasses. I never needed them. I had 20/20 vision, perfect vision. I was able to see things so cool. I impressed Dawn so much who, she will be the first to tell you she has terrible eyesight. And I impressed her when we were dating and early in our marriage when I was able to read signs that were like almost maybe not a mile away, but down the road, like, so, hey, there's the road we need to take. And then she's like, I only see is blah, 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 blah. And so it was like, we pull up there, it's like, oh yes, that's the right road. Now my superpower in my eyes is starting to fail me. I haven't got them tested in a while, but I've been noticing lately, I have trouble seeing things close up, which is once again, one of the first signs of aging as your eyesight starts to go. My hearing, not so much. My hearing is still pretty solid, I think. But my eyesight, definitely, it's harder to see things close up. And it's starting to hurt more looking at things as well. And that's just, I think, just from getting old, the cones in your eyes start degenerating a little bit. And that's just aging. That's nothing bad. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just the way you are. Everybody goes through that. That's why maybe my sister might have had reading glasses, or my mom didn't have reading glasses until recently, and I might need to get those soon. Right now, I'm trying to put that off. I don't really want to, but I am noticing it. And then this might get a little sickening, maybe not too much. But the other thing I just noticed recently is ear hair. Can't believe I'm talking about ear hair. It's my show, damn it, I can do whatever I want to. I noticed some ear hair that was very annoying the other day. Long, gray in my ear, and it was tickling, the tips of my ears down here. And I scratching that, and I feel it, and I tug at it, and it was in there tight. And so I actually had to go in, and I had to get some small scissors and cut some of that ear hair. So I'm starting to get ear hair now also, which is another sign of getting old. Now, I've always been bald. You really can't see it too well, but I've had this bald spot for a while. That's not a big deal. I'm still glad. I'm still blessed with pretty much a full set of hair, and it does get long in the back very quickly. So, it's getting older. That's what happens. I mean, 41, 42, for those who are not there yet, it's not that different than from when you were in your 30s. It might be a little bit different when you're in your 20s, but not by much, to be honest. I still feel pretty virile. I still feel pretty energized certain times, but I do feel a lot more tired. That's more along the lines of stress related to job, cars, kids, stresses that come about from responsibility and being a grown-up. And that's what I am right now as a grown-up, believe it or not, which, talk to my wife, she'll probably say, yeah, you're not really a grown-up. You're still a big kid. but that's part of the fun of it. All right. Um, I did want to get into, since obviously it's been an hour in the show now, and I'm probably not going to be getting any more questions, or no questions probably. Thank you, MJ, for your comment. And so I wanted to hit Kurt Zellner. He was the only one who did send me a question, and I'm going to answer it now. So hopefully you're watching, Kurt. If not, watch this when I send the link out, and this will answer your question. Kurt's question to me was, what was my favorite movie of 2014 and why? One of the problems with having kids and a job that takes a lot of time is I don't get a chance to really go out to the movies all that much. I used to in the old days. I mean, there was one time that I always bring this up, and I love to bring this up. It's like 96, 97. I went to 51 movies. I tried for 52, but I just couldn't. It was the last week of December. It was cold, snowy. I had no energy. I didn't feel like going up to the movie theaters. There was nothing really that I wanted to see. So I just sort of said, not going to do it. So that was my goal. I'd love to watch 52 movies in a year in a movie theater. That's one a week, for those who don't know. I didn't necessarily go to the movies every week. I might watch 2 movies 1 week or whatever. But that was, the benefit of, the job I had at the time. I just got out of college. My first real job, I was still living at home. I didn't have a car. My first real job was, I was a bagel baker, and my shift started at 3:30 in the morning. And I was usually done on most days 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. So I had the whole afternoon free to do whatever I wanted to. Oh, no, she's not down here. I was just my lovely Dawn Snarks, my lovely wife, is down here looking for her daughter. Is she up in her room? No, she does. Okay. I'm just chatting with the folks out there. So 3:30 to 10:30, 11:30, depending, was my shift. So I had the whole afternoon free. Yeah, Kurt, 51 movies. I'm going to tell a story, and I will get to your question. I will answer your question, but you know how I am. I like to tell a little backstory on this. So I didn't have a car. I lived at home. My job was 2 minutes from my house. I got up at 3 in the morning, walked up to the store, worked by myself from 3:30 to 6:30. Then the store opened at 6:30. Actually, I think 6 o'clock. Actually, then we had the breakfast rush, which is the biggest thing for bagels, and then the afternoon it sort of dies off. Lunch, we had a little bit of craziness, but by then I had enough experience as a bagel baker that I knew, okay, it's Monday. We're very busy in the morning. We die off a little bit in the late morning. We get a little bit heavier in the afternoon, and then we die off in the afternoon. So I said, okay, I can do 105 bagels, and I kept track of every bagel I made, so I was able to do that. And MJ just asked me a question, which I'll get to you in a second too, MJ. So I was able to time, I would make enough bagels so they'd have enough for the rest of the day. And worst case scenario, if they needed to make some more for whatever, we had people who were learned up on baking that they could open up, turn on the machines and cook it up. And before I left, I always set up my next day's early morning stuff so I could just start cooking right away and have them ready for the 6 o'clock rush. It was a pretty good job. I mean, it was rough because I had to go to bed at 8 o'clock at night, ruin my social life really, because at the time I didn't have a girlfriend and I didn't really have any friends out of college. And I didn't have a car, and so luckily we lived. The place where I live, go to the top of our street is a bus stop, so I can just hop on the bus and go into Towson, which is the big town near where I grew up. And they had a movie theater there called Towson Commons. It was in this big building in the middle of Towson. They had the Towson Commons, and they had the Towson Mall, which is a nice size mall also. And around 93, 94, they opened up this Towson Commons Theater, and Borders Booksellers was the anchor for it. And this Borders was amazing. It was a there's 3 stories, but you could say 4 stories. They had lots of different levels and stuff like that. Bookstore with one whole level. The bottom was all CDs and movies. And then you had your books and more books and magazines. It was one of the greatest architecturally designed bookstores. I loved it. They had a coffee house. They had comfy chairs everywhere. They had every book you could imagine, clean restrooms, kind people, and it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. So, the movie theaters were on top of that, the borders, and so every week on that Friday, because Friday was always one of our slowest days. I was usually done by about 10:30 on Fridays, 10:30 in the morning on Fridays. So I could just head out. Most movies start around 1-ish, matinees usually during the week. So I had, a couple hours where I could just go home, get something to eat if I wanted to, watch some TV, change if I wanted to, and then also then get on the bus or walk, because it was a nice healthy walk. It took me half an hour to walk up Towson, but on a nice day it's good exercise and it's a nice area, and I did that a lot also. You just get on the bus and you go to the movie theater, and whatever movie opened up on Friday that you wanted to see, you'd go see one of the first showings of it. So I would always check the movies every week, say, okay, there's this movie I really want to see. There's this movie I really want to see. And then, is it playing at Towson Commons? Yes, it is. So I would go say, it's the movie I'm going to go see. So I would go up there and I'd go to the movies by myself. I get a ticket, sit down, watch the movie, and then leave. And then sometimes there were 2 movies that came out at the same time. I would spend, all day there. I would go watch one movie. I'd go back out, come back in, go to the next showing of another movie, and so on and so forth. So sometimes I never watched more than 2 movies in a day. I don't think I watched 3 in a day, but I watched 2 in a day a bunch of times, and then a lot of times it was just 1. So for 1 year, in like 96, I believe it was 96 or 97. I think it was 96. It could have been 97. One of those 2 years anyway. I sat there and I just every Friday would go to the movies. If there was no movie I wanted to go see, I wouldn't go to the movies. I'd stay home, maybe pop in a DVD, whatever. Or sometimes I just go up to Borders and hang out there, or go to the mall and hang out there, and just walk around and do shopping, or or as I said, just stay home, rest, relax, whatever. So that was fun. So that was the life. But then, once family life came around, stuff like that happened, I was unable to really go out to the movies all that much. So I haven't really gone out to see a lot of movies. And a lot of movies we go see now in movie theaters, we take the kids with us, so they're kids' films. But occasionally, every once in a while, Dawn and I are able to do date nights, or if I take a day off of work or whatever, I would, I could go watch a film or whatever if there's something I want to catch. I did that this past year. I wanted to watch The Winter Soldier when it first came out. So I took the day off of work and I went to see Winter Soldier. That's what I wanted to do. And MJ and I were going to be talking about that movie in our show anyway. So I figured I may as well have that knowledge of the show, of the movie rather, so that we could have a good conversation. And MJ went to see it, and we had a really good 2.5 hour long discussion about Captain America, which if you want to see that, just go to my page. I have a Dylan Knows, you can either check my uploads, or I have a Dylan Knows playlist, and just find the one that MJ and I talking about Captain America. So being a big comic book fan, this era now where we have all these great comic book movies, when I want to go see a movie, it's usually a comic movie I go see, or a movie like, say, a Hobbit or something else that's pretty big. But this year, I think I've only saw 2 movies in the theaters for myself. One was Winter Soldier, one was Guardians of the Galaxy. And I've been, I catch some of the ones that I missed on DVD. So, I get the DVD and I watch some of those when I get a chance. That's the way I see my movies now, mostly is DVD. Dawn and I will probably be getting Netflix soon, because the Daredevil TV show is going to be coming up soon, and we want to get in on the ground floor with that. So if I had to choose between the 2, which is really difficult, I still think Guardians of the Galaxy is probably the best film I saw this year. Due to the fact that I didn't have a lot of, I didn't know what I was expecting. I didn't have high expectations for it, because I didn't know how it was going to play, because I knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were because I read the comics. MJ knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were because he read the comics also. And it's a comic niche type of group. So you're introducing a whole bunch of characters. You might know an Iron Man, or you might know a Captain America from various other things as well, but no one ever heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy before. And two of your cast members, one is a talking raccoon and one is a talking tree, that's an even bigger sell. But you know what? It worked. It was phenomenal. Actually, we saw three. We saw the Lego movie. We'll get in the Lego movie in a little bit too. And we saw Frozen also. So there's four. But of those four, Guardians of the Galaxy was my favorite. And I think what really sold it was comic book movies, depending on who the characters are, should not be dark and depressing. Batman, okay, maybe. Superman, definitely not. That's why I did not like Man of Steel, and I'm not too excited about Superman, Batman. Dawn of Justice, not excited about the Justice League film. Not excited about not excited about any of the DC movies that are coming up. Maybe Suicide Squad, maybe, but because they are going too dark, because that's what they're expecting. No, you need to go light. That's what Marvel does well. They have their dark moments, but you also have light moments. And Guardians of the Galaxy was very, very light. And yes, but at the same time, it had some dark moments, and it had some sad and depressing moments, like that opening scene. You're not even expecting this, where you have the sad story with young Star-Lord, who his mother is dying, and she dies, and he's upset, and then he gets abducted by aliens. And it's a sad, it's a depressing sequence. And then it goes to a funny sequence where we see him 30-some years later, now growing up, walking through an alien planet, kicking aliens, little alien rodent things, and listening to 70s, 80s music. And that is probably the main key for the film. Not only was the humor, but the music. Late 70s, mid 70s, late 70s to some early 80s music was a huge part of the film, and it brought the nostalgia of the comic, I mean, of the age, to people who remember those songs and like those songs, and added it to scenes that it made sense to have them in there, and jokes about Kevin Bacon and stuff like that that older people would get. And that was one of the reasons why a lot of people went to get it. That's why the soundtrack made as much money as it did. I think it's certified gold, even more. It might have even been platinum for that matter. I don't know. The DVD is the highest selling DVD of the year also. It's outselling Winter Soldier, which is, I think, is second place. It was a fun film. And Rocket Raccoon, when you first look at him, is okay. It's a talking raccoon. It sounds like Bradley Cooper. But when you dig deep, they made his character a character. It's not just, oh, look, we have a talking raccoon who likes to shoot things. No, we learn about his sadness that he has when he's drunk and complaining about how people treat him as a freak. That's heavy stuff. And the fact that, his only friend, Groot, passes away, technically, in the film, and you see his pain and suffering there. And we can get into this conversation some other time, but in Man of Steel, Superman's fighting Zod at the end is just destroying Metropolis and not caring, if people are getting hurt or killed or whatever. Rocket tried to save as many people as he could. A raccoon saved more people than Superman. It's just unheard of. It's unfathomable. It's inconceivable, as it were. So a lot of stuff, all that together, made Guardians of the Galaxy probably my favorite movie of the year, Kurt. And it kind of disappointed that it didn't get more Oscar love, which I'll get into when I get in the Oscars, which I got to do soon. I think I'll probably hit around 2:00, and maybe talk for the last half hour about the Oscars, because I got a lot to talk about with them. So let me try to wrap up some of this other stuff I wanted to discuss. So Guardians of the Galaxy, probably my favorite movie of the year. And second is a tie between Winter Soldier and the Lego movie. Winter Soldier was extremely well done. Surprised me a lot how well done it actually was. And it was a political spy thriller, which has bits of humor, but I think the humor and the nostalgia of the music and the characters. I love Rocket, and I love Groot. And I thought Dave Bautista, whose birthday it is today, happy birthday, Dave Bautista, as Drax, surprised the hell out of me with his acting ability. A wrestler who can act, inconceivable. So there's that. So Guardians of the Galaxy was my favorite film of the year. And I'll talk a little bit about Lego Movie when I go over my Oscar stuff, because I've been dying to want to talk about Lego Movie for a while, and it's been almost a year now since it's been out. So I think I'll be able to talk about what I really, really liked about Lego Movie. But the problem is with Lego Movie, it took me viewing it again on DVD to actually fall in love with it, because when I first saw it in the theater, I thought it was just okay until the very end, when what happens at the end is what made it such a great film, and made me like it more. But I had to watch it again on DVD to get the other part of the film, the animated Lego section of it, to make me like that a little bit more than I did when I originally saw it in the theater. So Kurt, I hope that answered your question. Guardians of the Galaxy was my favorite film of the year. And Marvel is batting 1,000. They, even though Iron Man 2 wasn't too great, or the Hulk might not have been too great, they've been doing pretty good with their films. And this year you got Avengers 2, which is already getting a huge buzz. A couple trailers have been out. It looks creepy as hell, and it's going to make $1 bazillion. The one you're going to need to watch out for is Ant-Man. And MJ Khan and I are probably going to get into a bit of discussion with Ant-Man probably in July or August, maybe probably more along the lines of August. Because that one is, Guardians of the Galaxy worried me last year before I saw it, because I didn't know how it was gonna show, how it was gonna be. It turned out to be very successful. I honestly don't think Ant-Man is going to be the Guardians of the Galaxy this year. I think the Avengers is totally going to wipe the floor with it, which is not really wiping the floor. They're in the same movie universe. But I just think Ant-Man is going to be a little weaker, and might be one of the weakest films that they've done. Nothing against Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly. Nothing against them. Nothing against Peyton Reed, who's directed it. It had a lot of issues going into it with Edgar Wright, who would have made probably a really interesting film, but in the end, he wasn't playing by Marvel's rules, so they got rid of him, or he left rather. And the first trailer for first teaser for Ant-Man really didn't excite me too much, and so we'll have to wait and see. I'm still want to see, because I like Paul Rudd. And so you see Michael Douglas in a supporting role as a advisor, a mentor type, which should be interesting as well. So we'll see. But I'm not sure about Ant-Man, but MJ and I will discuss that more. Now, speaking of MJ, he has a comment / question. Speaking of movies, there are a couple of theaters in the Midwest that are debuting an all-you-can-watch movie ticket for, I think, $35 per month. Do you think that's a good deal if it were adopted by more theaters? That's a good question, MJ. I guess it's almost like a Netflix subscription. You pay $35 in, and you can see as many movies as you want, which, to be honest, is probably a really good deal considering movie prices nowadays for matinees are in the $12 to $15 range, and $35 for a full month. That's, let's look at it. If you watch one movie a month, that's four movies. Let's just 5, because it evens out easier. Math is hard. 5 films a month. That averages out to $7 a film, and that is definitely less than a 12 to 15 matinee film ticket price. In that aspect, yes, that's good. Now, I'm not a big fan of box office numbers, but something like that might play havoc with the box office numbers. Not that I mind. It's actually a really good idea, and I don't know if it should be used for every theater, because at the same time what if it might only be really for big, huge movie lovers? Because let's face it, to be honest, how many movies a month do you go see? 1, maybe 2 a month. And if you just, if they start adopting the $35 for, I guess what they can do is they can adopt, for the big fans who go to multiple movies a month, have that ticket availability, sure, you save money and you might even get a chance to get more people involved in the coming to your theater again over and over again. But then you have those people who might only watch one movie a month. Maybe they might only see one movie or two movies a year. And it wouldn't be worth it to them to pay $35 a month for something that they're not going to use all the time. If they're only going to see maybe one or two movies a year, it'd be just worth it just to go ahead and just buy a ticket now and go for it. Now, here's the issue, though, is how, with theaters, they have only so many seats available per cinema. So if you do have a bunch of people who have these $35 a month tickets, how are you going to be able to know when they're going to go see a film? And how are you going to know that you're sold out of a theater? Now, if you automatically go in and say, okay, 20 people have bought this $35 a month deal, and we need to how many people say 20? Yeah, we need to corner off 20 seats per showing. That might get a little hinky because there's 20 seats right there that there's no guarantee that the same 20 people are going to go to the same time, the same show at the same time. And that's 20 seats that are empty that you could use to somebody who say, okay, I want to go see Avengers 2. I'm sorry, sold out. But you have 20 seats empty over there. Well, those are for the people who might come to see the film. That's not going to work. So it's a good idea in theory, but you got to think about some of the logistics. It's a good idea to start thinking about something like that maybe, but the logistics of, well, how to make sure that they're going to be able to go to the showing they want to go to. Are they going to say, okay, in 3 weeks, Avengers 2 comes out. I want to go to the 12 p.m. showing of it. Okay, you got it. How are you going to know? Well, what if something happens? Like, okay, I can't get off of work. My kid's sick. My car breaks down. It's snowing. I can't get out to the theater. The electricity is out. The theater isn't going to show it. What are you going to do then? It's an idea. It's a good idea, MJ. But I think there's a lot of logistics you need to go over and think about before you can actually maybe adopt it. I like your comment on Twitter, how I'll give you a discourse on why Guardians of the Galaxy is better than Man of Steel. I know you like Man of Steel, MJ, but I really didn't, and I'm not that excited about the upcoming DC movies. All right, so I think I hit that pretty good. So hopefully, Kurt, that answered your question, and MJ, I hope that answered your question. I just want to hit these TV things real quick, and then we're going to just talk Oscars for the next half hour. TV, Helix and Face Off had their season premieres this week on Sci-Fi, or two shows that I watch, and my wife Dawn writes for reviews for Paranormal Pop Culture, so read those reviews because she's a great writer, very snarky, and if you love Dawn and you know Dawn, you'll love her writing also. And Sleepy Hollow came back from their mid-season finale to start the second half of their season, and then took a week off for the national championship. All three of these are shows I like, but these episodes coming back haven't really sold me too much. I really don't like this new version of Face Off. And I understand you can't have the same thing over and over again because you need to mix it up a little bit. I mean, Survivor survived as long as it did for mixing up their formula, and you need to do it every once in a while as well. But right now, I just don't see how having 3 teams of makeup artists is going to work. Granted, it's only the first episode, and the show usually gets better after the first couple episodes. So I'm definitely still going to watch it, and it's still an entertaining show, and it's a great show. And I have to thank Tony Solo for getting me into that, because I really never thought much about it. And then he started tweeting about it. And then I think Patrick Smith did, and a bunch of other people did. So I was like, hey, why don't we hang out and watch this, see what it's all about? And became hooked on it. So I think this is our 3rd season maybe of watching it, maybe 3rd or 4th. So that's actually my 3rd, I think. There's that. Helix was such a mind bender. I was going to say a mind F, but I'm not gonna curse at 2:00 on a Sunday afternoon. And And it's interesting to see where they're going to go with it. But once again, the first episode just sort of left me kind of meh. It was kind of a little confusing and a little messed up what was going on, but we'll see what happens. And then Sleepy Hollow, I mean, the first episode back was just all right. And we'll see what's upcoming. I think there's a new one maybe on Monday, so I'll have to follow up on that. See, there's a new episode. I think there's a new episode on Monday. So I keep watching, obviously. Now, one show I'm kicking myself for missing, and I'm going to have to wait. Luckily, I don't have to wait too much longer because tonight's the season finale, is The Librarians. There's been a bunch of people on Twitter who I follow, Snark Alex, stuff like that, who absolutely adore The Librarians. And I never, for whatever reason, never really thought much about watching it. And I don't know why, because Dean Devlin and I think John Howard not Howard, but John something or other, are the creators of it. And they were the ones who created one of the greatest shows out there, Leverage, which I absolutely loved. And you even got, some same cast members, but you've got more of a fantasy fun show. And that's just what it seems everybody is talking about this show. And I'm kicking myself for missing it. So I'm going to try and get caught up on it. Probably not going to watch it tonight since it's the season finale. I don't want to get lost, but I guarantee you when the DVD comes out, I'll be picking up, or if we get Netflix sooner than later and it gets on Netflix, we'll be watching that sooner or later too, because I want to get hooked on that, because from what I've been reading, everyone loves The Librarians, and it should be a show everybody should be watching. So I will get in on that, definitely. Just found this out today. I for those who've been following the show, knew that I became a Doctor Who fan back in, I had my first exposure to it in 2013. I had my first exposure to it in 2013, in the winter of 2013. And then Dawn and I started watching it in 2014 and just fell in love with it. And I haven't watched many since, but hopefully, we'll get back into that soon. Hopefully, because I do miss it. And the fact that I'm setting the assistant in the same Doctor Who style universe is another plus, another reason how it's gotten into my system. And how a lot of my Christmas presents this year were Doctor Who related, and I got Dawn a couple of Doctor Who related stuff. So we're in on this too. But I just found out today from a new friend, a new member of Twitter who I just started following, there is going to be a Doctor Who convention in my backyard. Not literally in my backyard, but in a place called Cockeysville, Maryland, which is about 20 minutes from where I live now. And it's the area, it's in the Hunt Valley, Cockeysville area, where Dawn and I actually, when we first moved there, we lived there for about 3 years. My dad and stepmom still live in Hunt Valley. Dawn works in Hunt Valley, and our kids used to go to preschool in Hunt Valley. And I love Hunt Valley myself. There's going to be a Doctor Who convention in end of March 27th to 29th. It's called the Regeneration, regenerationwho.com. Go to regenerationwho.com for more information. It might even be the first one. I've never heard of it until now. March 27th to 29th at the Wyndham Hotel, which I believe is in Hunt Valley. They say Cockeysville, but Cockeysville is like there's Cockeysville, here's Cockeysville, and here's Hunt Valley. It's like literally right next to each other. There's like maybe 5 minutes between them, if that. So Dawn and I are really excited about that, and we might dump the kids off with somebody, and we'll go do the convention thing and try to get as many people as we can to get down there. Mandy, one of our Snark Out friends, is willing to check it out. We let Stardust and DH Gamer know. Hopefully they'll be down also. Any other Doctor Who fans want to come to the convention? I said March 27th, 29th, the Wyndham Hotel in Hunt Valley, the Regeneration Who convention. It's a Doctor Who convention for every generation. Check out regeneration.com for info on it. I haven't checked it yet. Dawn did, so she knows a little bit about it. And supposedly Tom Baker is going to be Skyping with the crowd, so that's something to look forward to if you're a Tom Baker fan. So we'll definitely check that out, and we'll mention that. I'll mention that upcoming Dylan Knows episode. So that'll be great. A couple more things, and then we'll get moving to the Oscars. the big news that just came out yesterday is Gillian Anderson has been petitioning for it, and it's starting to get a little bit of a fire under it. An X-Files reboot. X-Files is one of those shows I absolutely loved in college. Sort of lost track of after the 5th or 6th season, and watched one of the movies but haven't watched the other one, and have always loved the show. I've loved David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson, Mitch Pileggi, and all the cast members who've been involved with that, and the Lone Gunman. And it's always been a fun show. And if they can do a reboot again, it should be interesting, especially if you get Duchovny and Anderson back. Via, I guess, if you want to do it to Netflix or Showtime or FX or whatever, would be great. Or even get it back on Fox again. I would love that too. So that should be fun. Speaking of reboots, another one of my favorite shows of all time, Twin Peaks, as everybody knows, is rebooting next year, 2016, on Showtime. Well, it was officially announced on Twitter this week also that Kyle MacLachlan, who played Special Agent Dale Cooper, will be returning, which is a fantastic news to get basically one of the main characters of the show, if not the main character of the show, back to be the main character in the miniseries. 8 episodes, all directed by David Lynch on Showtime. So you're going to be able to do a bit more adult stuff and more violent stuff and make it more weird and bizarre like you expect from Twin Peaks. That makes it even better. So we have 2 reboots of 90s film, 90s series, Twin Peaks and X-Files. What's next? How about a reboot of Northern Exposure? I'd love that. I'd like to do a Northern Exposure show sometime. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. If you've never seen Northern Exposure before, how dare you? Check out the 3rd season, especially, is probably one of the best seasons of television of all time. And it's once again, what does a lot of these shows have in common? They are fun. That's what people want to see. They want to see fun shows. They want to see fun films. That's why Librarians is doing so well. That's why The Flash is doing so well, because they are fun films. It doesn't mean you have to be silly, goofy comedies. You can have your dramatic stuff and do stuff like that, which is what they're doing. And that's the thing. You weigh it, both dramatic and the comedic. And if you can do that, you got it. Northern Exposure was a brilliant show about doing that as well. How about a Northern Exposure reboot? I'd buy it. All right. I think that's about it for everything else I wanted to cover. I might hit some Lego Movie when we talk about Lego Movie, but let me just double check and make sure I'm not missing anything else. Yep, I think I hit everything I wanted to. So from now till hopefully maybe 2:30, we'll be talking nothing but Oscars. I love the Oscars. I love predicting the Oscars. I love picking the Oscars, and I tweet out the Oscars, and I follow along, and I see what my record is. I make my picks the day before the Oscars, and don't change them. And I've done pretty good. I think I've been above 500 every year since I can remember. I don't think I've ever been under 500. I don't think I've ever had a crappy year. And Kurt Zellner is going crazy with the comments, and I'm sorry I can't read the comments on here directly because I'd love to see what your statements are, but I don't think I can. Hold on, let me go down here. But I think I can actually. Hold on. Anyway, we're going to talk Oscars. Just double check something here. Comment tractor. Okay, I can't, but I will answer you, Kurt, when and respond to you when I go back and look at this again. But he's saying something. He likes the idea of the X-Files reboot. He loves the Librarians also, so that's great. And thank you, Kurt, again for doing this, and MJ also, and everybody out there who's watching. So let's get on again real quick with Oscars. So I do my Oscar show the day before the Oscars, so it'll be Saturday before the Oscars. Don't know the exact date right now. Probably be like February 28th, probably, because I think March 1st will probably be the Oscars. So maybe February 28th, I'll probably do my show, my Oscar picks. But we'll see. Or maybe not. Whatever is before the day of the Oscars, I'll do it. Patrick Smith will be with me as long as he has no technical difficulties. Lisa Marie Bowman may be with us, depending if she's in the country or not. Okay, so I'm not going to make my picks here. I'm just going to make some comments about the Oscar nominees in general, nominations in general. I will not make my picks. You guys will have to watch my Oscar show where I'll get all dressed up in a nice tie and shirt and maybe even a suit and look all purdy, drink some fancy drinks and stuff like that. It should be a lot of fun. As I said, I did pretty good last year. I think it was 19-4, something like that, 20-4, 20-3, 19-3, something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but I had a really good year last year. And I've been doing this for years. Even before I had shows, I was making my picks the day before. And I was watching the show and checking them off. And I watched the show all the way to the end. Even if it meant midnight, 12:30, I would still watch it. Even if I had to go to work the next day, I still watched it. So let's start off with, instead of just going down everything, let's just talk about them in general. What do I think they got right? Well, to be honest, as I said earlier, as I said to Kurt when I answered Kurt's question, I haven't seen probably any of these movies. A bit a few, like Lego Movie was nominated for something, and then when you get into the visual effects stuff like that, Captain America: Winter Soldier was, Guardians of the Galaxy was, stuff like that. But there are a lot of movies that I haven't seen yet that I want to. But what I make my determinations on is I look at what EW picks, I read what other critics have picked, I read descriptions of it, and so I don't make the decisions from my own personal view because I haven't watched these. Because the Academy, if you want me to watch it, please send me screeners and I'll fill out an Oscar form. I will. I'd love to. So please, Dylan knows, send it to me. Oscar screeners. I'll fill out an Oscar nomination ballot. I will do it and I will push it. I'll do everything. Till now, I got this though. So what was I going to say? So I haven't seen a lot of these movies. As I said, where I get my picks from are from what other people are saying, and I read their reviews and things I've heard about them and critics' choices, and I make determinations using what I've seen in other things. And it's been working pretty good for me, obviously, since I've been doing pretty good with my records. So I haven't seen any of these movies, but I do a lot of reading about them, and I know the basic premises behind all of them, and I know I've seen the actors and the directors and the writers do other stuff and makeup art, stuff like that. I've seen the stuff, so I know what stuff is really good and which ones that are really what I like personally. And that's also another thing. Also, there might be a movie that I really, really want to see. Like, a good example is of the Best Pick nominees, which are American Sniper, Birdman, Boyhood, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, Selma, The Theory of Everything, and Whiplash. Really, the only ones I want to see of that group are Birdman, Boyhood, and Selma. Those are really the only three I really want to see. Everything else, I mean, they're great, and maybe I'll see them eventually, but they're not that high on my list. So I might be cheering for, like, say, a Birdman. And the main reason why is because Michael Keaton. I love Michael Keaton. He's a great actor, and I'm very happy he got nominated for Best Actor for the role of Birdman. I think he deserves it because he is an underrated actor. He's fantastic. So I make my picks upon that, upon what other people say as well. But from what I get, as I said, not going to do my picks until the day before the Oscars, and you'll hear them live here on Dylan Knows with Patrick Smith and maybe Lisa Marie Bowman. Probably be a 9 o'clock show on a Saturday night, and we'll do our picks. If you want to see my picks from last month or from last year, once again, go to my YouTube page. Just type in Dylan Lang, DYLAN LANGE. You'll find the link to that site, or just look for or just type in Dylan Knows. You might find the playlist for Dylan Knows as well. That episode is in there as well, because I do have a playlist of every episode of Dylan Knows in there, as well as my appearances on Snark Alec Radio as well. So you can check that out as well. Of course, I was looking at that, and if you want to watch the whole playlist, it would take you like a week to watch the whole playlist because they're so long. But I digress. So the one thing I did notice is over the last few years, there's been much more diversity when it comes to the nominees. More black actors, more black directors, more black writers, even some other foreign actors and foreign directors and stuff like that from other countries as well, being nominated for real, I mean, big awards: Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Writer, and not just Best Foreign Film or whatever. We've been getting a lot of these foreign directors and writers and actors, and then some African American Black actors and directors and writers and movies getting nominated as well, which is great. For the longest time, the Oscars was not about diversity, and at the same time, maybe there weren't a lot of performances by African Americans that maybe they thought deserved nominations, but I think a lot of it was people were skipping over it and stuff like that. But this year, you had one big movie that, from all I've read, has been getting really rave reviews, and the only thing that I've heard negative about it was some historical inaccuracies, as one or two people have said, which I don't even know if it's true or not. Being a history major, though, I don't really know much about Martin Luther King and the Selma stuff because we haven't really studied it, and I haven't really done much investigating about it. But Selma seemed to be what appeared to be probably primed to get a lot more diversity when it comes to best actors, best directors, best writers, best supporting actors and actresses and stuff like that. Because you had, pretty much basically a all black cast, and it's an important movie about an important man, Martin Luther King. We're celebrating his birthday tomorrow. That's how big he is. I mean, the government's closed, a lot of schools are closed, a lot of businesses are closed. It's a national holiday, and he deserves it. He is one of the greatest people in American history. And yet, it didn't get hardly any love. It got Best Pick nomination and maybe some other, I don't have all the nominations in front of me, but maybe a couple of other minor ones. But it got like 2 or 3 nominations. I was like, is it the historical inaccuracies? If they are truly historically inaccurate, is that one of the reasons why that it got nicked? And even then, there are other performances out there. There were other actors that not necessarily were involved with Selma, other black actors, other actors, foreign actors like that, who did great performances that didn't get nominated either. And are we taking a step backwards? I don't know. Maybe it's just one of those weird years where it just didn't work out. There was just too many other good films. I don't know. As I said, I haven't watched any of these films hardly. I just go by what other people read. But from what I read about a lot of these other movies, there were a lot of good performances and a lot of good, performances by African Americans and foreign actors and directors and writers, stuff like that. But none getting the love this year. It's once again, it's almost all whitewashed. And nothing not to take anything away from them for being, for being good. I mean, they could be good films. They were voted in for nominations. So that's the biggest thing that I saw out of all this, is the lack of diversity this year. And I wasn't the only one who noticed it. It was noticed on Twitter, and Twitter blew up a little bit about it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, maybe next year it'll be more diverse choosings, or maybe it's just going to be another one of those years where there's not a lot of diversity out there that critics or actors or people in the film industry enjoyed. We'll see. Is that going to stop me from watching the Oscars? No. Is it going to stop other people from watching the Oscars? Maybe. One of the main reasons why I want to watch the Oscars this year is Neil Patrick Harris is hosting it, and I think it's a brilliant move because he's a great host, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But I was going to watch the Oscars anyway, even if they had 20 people hosting it. I don't know. So what was one of the other things that I've noticed about it, about the Oscar nominations? Another really interesting aspect that I noticed is how big the comic book movie industry has gotten. That if you look at the nominations for actors and actresses, supporting actors, supporting actresses, and even the ones where you expect them to get nominations, visual effects, makeup, stuff like that, there's a ton of comic book movie connections, and comic movies in general being nominated. Let's take a look real quick. Good example. Let's look at Best Actor. Bradley Cooper from American Sniper voiced Rocket Raccoon in Guardians of the Galaxy. Benedict Cumberbatch for The Imitation Game. He's going to play Doctor Strange. Michael Keaton. Say more. He's Batman. He played Batman. Those 3 of the 5 supporting actors, the other 2 being Steve Carell for Foxcatcher and Eddie Redmayne for Theory of Everything. Those 3 comic book movies. They've been involved with them. Then you get into Best Actress. You've got Marion Cotillard, who is French, which is good, I guess, a little bit good diversity. She was Talia al Ghul in a Batman movie, another comic movie. Felicity Jones, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is Felicity Jones, I think, is the front runner to play the Black Cat in a possible upcoming Spider-Man movie. If that's the case, well, there you go. 2 actresses of the 3 remaining, including, those are the 2 of them. Felicity Jones was in Theory of Everything. Julianne Moore for Still Alice, Rosamund Pike, for Gone Girl, and Reese Witherspoon for Wild. Those are the other actress nominees. You've got 2 there who were involved in comic movies or eventually could be involved in comic movies. You go to supporting actor. It gets even funnier here. Once again, 3 of the 5 actors in comic book movies. I'll give you the 2 that aren't. Robert Duvall, Robert Duvall for The Judge, nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Who starred with him in The Judge? Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man. It's sort of in a 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon type of way. There's a connection there. Ethan Hawke, again, another 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon-esque connection. He was supposedly up for Doctor Strange also, for Boyhood. Interesting. But no, those are the other actors. But then you have these 3 supporting actors. You've got J.K. Simmons for Whiplash, who played J. Jonah Jameson in the original Spider-Man trilogy by Sam Raimi. You've got the Battle of the Hulks. You've got Edward Norton for Birdman, who originally played the Hulk in the Marvel Universe Hulk movie, the one that came out the same year as Iron Man. And then you have Mark Ruffalo for Foxcatcher, who plays the Hulk in the Avengers 2, and made an appearance in Iron Man 3 as well. So now you got the Battle of the Hulks going at each other in Best Supporting Actor, and you've got J. Jonah Jameson in there as well. Best Supporting Actress, no, I was wrong. I didn't think there was anybody. There was Emma Stone for Birdman, nominated for Best Supporting Actress. She was Gwen Stacy. Another comic book connection. The other ones in that are Meryl Streep, who always gets a nomination, it seems, for Into the Woods, Keira Knightley for Imitation Game, Laura Dern for, I think it's Wild, and Patricia Arquette for Boyhood. I'm just telling you what I see. Animated feature. I'd never heard of this comic before, but big number 6 or Big Robot 6. It's horrible. I can't. It's a kids move, and I can't think of what it is. But that was based on a Marvel Comics. Big Hero 6. That's what it is. Big Hero 6, based on a Marvel comic. Nominated for Best Animated Feature. I'm going to get back to the animated feature in a second because I got a little quibble with someone not being nominated. And then not much else there. The writing, stuff like that. Then you get into the actual comic book movies themselves. For makeup, Guardians of the Galaxy got nominated. Maybe it'll win. Again, it's going up against what is that middle one? Well, Foxcatcher and Grand Budapest Hotel. So Foxcatcher, Grand Budapest Hotel, and Guardians of the Galaxy are all going for makeup. Let's go Guardians of the Galaxy, my favorite movie of 2014. Visual effects, of course, was going to be dominated by comic book movies. Winter Soldier, of course. Guardians of the Galaxy again. X-Men Days of Future Past. There's 3 right there. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Technically, Boom Studios does a Planet of the Apes comic, so technically that could be considered a comic, even though it's not, a comic book movie, as it were. And then Interstellar, which was directed by Chris Nolan, who directed the Dark Knight trilogy. Comic book movies. Comic book movies are taking over Hollywood, and I'm okay with that, as long as they keep being good. So the last bit, I'm going to rant for another 5-10 minutes about this, and then I'm probably going to shut this down and have and wish you all a pleasant Sunday. The Lego Movie. Lego Movie came out this year. Lego Movie is a great movie. It got 1 nomination for Best Song. I predicted that way back when I first saw it. I was like, it's going to be a crime if the Lego Movie does not get nominated for Best Song for Everything is Awesome. I was also expecting it to be nominated for Best Animated Feature. It wasn't, and that pisses me off. Now, I understand. I think I understand why it didn't get nominated, and we're going to delve into spoiler alerts. But as I said, it's been a year almost since the movie came out. So if you haven't seen it by now, I can't keep, because I want to talk about this because this is my favorite part of the film. For those who haven't seen it, I'm going to spoil this right now. Up till about the last 10 minutes of the movie, it's all animated Lego characters, a really fun story, entertaining. And then it takes a drastic U-turn where you mix in some live action with animation. And I'll explain why that happens. So is that the reason why it didn't get nominated for Best Animated Feature? Because it has that period of live action sequences in it? Is that the reason why? Because it was not a fully animated film? Possibly. And if you want to go by the rules, sure, you can do it that way. But you know what? Critics' Choice Awards picked it as Best Animated Feature. I don't remember what the Golden Globes did or not, so I don't think it did because I would have heard more about it. I don't even know if it was nominated for the Golden Globes or if they even have an animated feature. I'm pretty sure they do, but I'm not sure about that. But I'm kind of disappointed that the Lego Movie didn't get nominated because it's a good movie. As I said, it took me a while to get to like the animated part of it, but it was a fun film when I first saw it in the theater with the kids. It was a fun film, but just sort of to me it was meh. And then when we hit this live action aspect of it, it changed the whole movie around for me and made me think back about what was going on and made me appreciate the film even better. So when I went back to rewatch it, I started enjoying the Lego aspect of it a lot more also because the kids, after seeing Lego Movie, became Lego fanatics. So I had to put the Legos together, as did Dawn. And they wanted more and more Legos. And then I started noticing there's a lot of cool Lego stuff out there. There's a Lego rocket raccoon. There's a Lego Guardians of the Galaxy sets. There's Lego Halloween ghost type things, ghosts and vampires and ghost hunters and stuff like that. That's awesome. There's always been Lego Star Wars stuff. That's cool. We got a Star Wars movie coming out this year. There's going to be a ton of new Star Wars stuff coming out. We got Lego Avengers, we got Lego Batman, and for my daughter, they've got Lego Friends, which is, more of a girl aspect to it, more pinks and purple colored bricks and, young girls, friends being friends, haircut places and dog wash places, stuff like that. Yes, it might be considered maybe a bit sexist because it's, motion more for girls, but you know what? She loves it. Ninjago, Legends of Chima, there's a ton of Star Wars, a ton of Lego stuff out there. And it's all fun. And this Lego Movie was so great that it connected all of these things. It connected Harry Potter. It connected Lord of the Rings. It connected Superman. It connected Green Lantern. It connected Ninjago. It connected Wild West. It connected Medieval. It connected all these Legos into one cohesive universe. And it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. The vocal cast, Chris Pratt, who was in Guardians of the Galaxy, was the voice of the main character in Lego Movie also. A lot of people might not remember that, but he was. You've got I can't. Will Ferrell is the bad guy. You've got Morgan Freeman. You've got Elizabeth Banks. You got just all these. You got all these great actors. Doing these voices, and Liam Neeson, and having a blast. And again, there's a word: fun. You want to make a successful movie or a successful TV show? Make it fun. Fun shows, fun movies are F-U-N, fun. Yes, there's places for drama. Yes, there's places for horror. Yes, there's places for action films. Fun. Make fun movies also. You will make a lot of movies, make a lot of money with fun movies. Lego Movie is one of those movies. So it's a fun film. You get all these connections, you get ghosts, and you get mermaids, and you get Batman, and you get Green Lantern, which is, by the way, was terrible casting of of the guy who played. My whole mind is going blank. Channing Tatum was Jonah Hill as Green Lantern was terrible casting, and Channing Tatum was actually pretty good as Superman. I like that. And then you had Kobe Smulders, who is in the Avengers movies, in the Marvel universe, was the voice of Wonder Woman, and she was great also. And it was fun. It's fun. Everything is awesome. It's a catchy little tune, and just the way the animation is, and the Legos and the stuff as Legos get put together, and just seeing all these characters interacting and playing together. It's amazing. It made you excited. It made you remember your childhood if you play with Legos. I didn't play with Legos when I was younger all that much, and that might be one of the reasons why when I first saw it, it wasn't that big of a deal for me. But on watching it over and over again, because one of my kids' favorite movies, they like it better than Frozen. They wanted to watch it over and over again. Watching it from a grown-up perspective, I love the film. And it's such a great story, too. I mean, about a nobody, who's trying to fit in, becomes the most important person in the world. But then really isn't, because he believes everybody's the most important person in the world. And that is a great feeling, a great idea to have. And then you throw in this finale, where at this point the bad guy has won. The good guys did not succeed. All the good guys have been captured. And Emmett, the hero, is, getting ready to watch all of his friends die, get melted. He's going to watch as his town gets destroyed by the bad guy, Lord Business, who, doesn't like anything that's different. He likes things to be the way they are. He doesn't like different things. And so he's getting ready to destroy a town. And Emmett's got to watch this. And he's just been told that he isn't special, that this prophecy that was done by Morgan Freeman's character, that everybody thought pertained to him, was actually made up by Morgan Freeman's character. And he's not special. He's a nobody. And he's having a crisis of faith. But then he realizes, with a little help from his friends, Wild Style, stuff like that, and the ghost of Vitruvius comes back and tells him, look, you are special also. Everyone's special. He sacrifices himself for his friends. He sacrifices by jumping into the abyss, not knowing what's going to happen to him, but he stops them from getting destroyed. He frees all of his friends, and they can go and they can try to stop Lord Business. Okay, so it's a kid's film. Like, okay, the group's going to come together. They're going to come in, and they're going to defeat Lord Business, and that's going to be the end of the film. And the good guys win. No. They throw the curveball in. And this is what made the movie for me. So we cut to see, okay, what's going on with Emmett? He's still falling to the abyss. All of a sudden, boom, it goes black. And then he starts seeing flashes of light, boom, boom, and sounds, and hearing weird sounds. And then he wakes up, and he's in a live action. He's in reality. He's in the basement, and he sees a 10-year-old kid playing with Legos. And there's all this giant table filled with all these buildings and worlds and stuff like that, perfectly symmetrical, perfectly designed. Everything is where it's supposed to be. But he's playing with all the stuff like that. And he steps on Emmett, and Emmett, you can still hear his thoughts, and then he sees Emmett and says, oh, look, Emmett, no, you're fine. And then they hear tromping down the steps. And then you see live action Will Ferrell, who's been the voice of Lord Business. But this is live action Will Ferrell. He's the father of the boy playing in the Legos. And Will Ferrell begins to freak out because we learn that these Legos in the basement, these buildings, ornate buildings, gorgeous buildings like that, is not the boy's, it's Will Ferrell's. And he has put signs up, says, you do not touch this. This is daddy's stuff. And here's the thing about Will Ferrell's performance. As Lord Business, he is your typical bad guy. He's cruel, mean, evil. Will Ferrell as the dad is a dad. He's not some crazy man-child like he is in some of his other movies. He's not a depressed, homicidal psychopath. He's a regular dad. He loves Legos. He grew up with Legos. He played with Legos as a kid. And now as a grown-up, he's continuing his love of Legos. But now, as a grown-up, his imagination isn't quite all there. And it is now, to him, it is a process of following the directions and creating something out of bricks. If you ever opened a Lego box, they have bags of all these different bricks, all the same colors, all same designs in different bags. And you've got a thick packet about how to put these together. Dawn and I put a bunch of these together for Christmas and birthdays and stuff like that. It can take you between 2 to 5 hours to put some of these together, depending on how complicated they are. Now, the good thing about Lego is their directions are so easy to follow that you can figure it out. It's just a matter of finding the right bricks, making sure they fit together. And they're kind of, they fit together, but sometimes if you press too hard, you might break it and you go back and start over again. But so Will Ferrell, as the dad, he grew up, didn't really use his imagination all that much anymore, and now he just likes to create the buildings. So he buys skyscraper Lego. He builds police station Lego. He builds airport Lego. And he builds the airplanes. He builds the police cars. He builds the jail. He builds the giant buildings with all the ornate office rooms and the bathrooms and stuff like that. It takes him probably a few days to build one of these, maybe a week to build stuff like this. But when he's done, he feels, this is really cool. It's a model. And I made this, and it is cool, and I like it. So what he does is he super glues the bricks together so they stay in that form forever. Legos are a plaything, and that's the whole point of this coda, this finale, if you were, is the boy loves the Legos also, and he has his own Legos, of course. His dad is trying to get his love of Legos to his son. Just don't touch my stuff. And that's not being mean. That's just the way he is. I don't want you to touch my stuff. I don't like when my kids go through my comic book collection. I mean, I give them their own comics and they can read it, but then they see the comics that I want to read and they start touching it, stuff like that. And that, now I get a little, no, I want to read it. I don't want you to ruin it. I don't want you to tear it. You got your own comics. But I've instilled such a love to comics to my kids that it makes me proud to see this. And the same thing happens in this film. Will Ferrell has drawn a love of Legos to his son. He just doesn't want his son touching his stuff. We're creating these crazy amalgamations of ships and boats and pirates and stuff like that. And then you begin to realize, okay, Lord Business, the bad guy in the Lego portion of the film, voiced by Will Ferrell, is wearing the same outfit as his dad does. Black suit, red tie. Apparently he's some sort of businessman. He's a businessman, a lawyer. That's his job. He's got to wear a suit. It's what he uses to relax, to get himself, through his day. But because he kept telling his son, you can't play with all my cool Legos, play with your own. You can't play with my giant city. No, you cannot play with it. I'm sorry. You got your own, build your own city. You can build whatever the hell you want with them. Go ahead. That's what they're there for. You're not going to touch my stuff though. Because I don't want you to. I built this. I created this, and I want to look at it. I want to watch it. I want to look at it. It's a statue to me. It's a model. It's what I like. And that's why the kid, of course, it's cool stuff. It's a big building. His dad is a genius when it comes to Legos. He's building all this cool stuff. Reminds me of Aaron, one of the Snark Alex. He and Mel, they their kids love Legos, and he built a Millennium Falcon, which is insane. It probably took him, I think he said it took him a week to build. It's huge, and it's so intricate. But you're not going to want your kids, you spent a week building it. You're not going to want your kids to go, oh, let's fly it into an asteroid field, boom, and blow it up. No, Aaron's a different type. I mean, I don't know if Aaron believed that or not, or if he does that or believes that, but that's what I would do. I was like, I built this. No. It took me a week to build this. You're not going to play with it. You're not going to crash into stuff. No, you're not. So I totally understood where Will Ferrell stood. But at the same time, I know where the kid is standing too. There's all this cool stuff. I want to play with this stuff. He's built such really cool things. I want to play with it. It's I want to have Batman and Superman and Gandalf and Harry Potter all fighting in one city on top of these skyscrapers with giant dinosaurs walking down the road. I want to do that because my dad has built such a cool thing. And then, you see that where the kids come from, where he's been told numerous times by his dad, you can't play with this. You can't play with this. Don't touch it. Do not even come down here. And he even gets a little upset with his son. He doesn't go off on his son, but he gets a little, it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I told you not to do this. It's a typical father. You might not understand if you don't have any kids, or likes like that. But that's exactly what a father would do. Will Ferrell was playing a regular Joe, unlike what he normally does in his movies. He plays a man child or a psycho or whatever. No, in this he is playing a regular guy that I can not emulate, but I can see parts of myself. And then also I can see, I might let my kids play with myself a little bit more. But as I said before in my comics, I don't like them living through my comics either. I'll be the first to admit it. I don't like it. And then I cringe also when they crash their Lego toys that it's their toys that I built for them and Dawn built for them. And when they're all crashed and broken, it makes me cringe because I just spent 2-3 hours on this and now they're wrecked already. And the kids aren't playing with it anymore. But you know what? That's not the point of the Legos. Legos are for fun and for building. So the son, while he's doing this story, the Lego movie that we had just been watching, and Lord Business is his father. His father's being, I want everything the way it is, don't change anything. I don't like change, because that's what his dad has been instilling in him. But then he wants to be like Emmett. He wants it to be crazy and mixed up and fun, because that's what Legos are. Their kids are. He and his dad have this conversation, which is, it's not a yelling match. It's a conversation between a father and a son. That is one of the most realistic conversations that fathers and sons, daughters and mothers, whatever, parents and children will have. They're not mad at each other. They're not going to hate each other because of this. They still love each other deeply. He loves his dad loves his son, and they both love Legos, but they have different beliefs when it comes to what we're doing with Legos. And that's the genius of this scene. So then eventually the boy gives up. Okay, all right. And dad's like, okay, we're going to fix this. We got to make sure, get everything back to normal. Let's break up all this stuff. And then what we see is while the dad is fixing up what the boy has made, we cut back to the animated portions and we see the good guys are losing because the dad is remaking the world in Lord Business's image. So Lord Business, the bad guy, is winning because the dad is rebuilding what his son broke down. And that's heavy stuff, man. So then you get Emmett, who is the good guy of the series. His mouth can't move because he's in the real world, but you can hear his thoughts. He's screaming. It's like, no, you're killing my friends. You're destroying my world. I can't let you do this. And he's trying his hardest to get through to the father and the son. And eventually he's able to escape from, which is still, it's just one of those scenes that it's a movie, cartoon movie. A Lego in the real world is able to move on its own and escape. And the boy sees this and sends Emmett back to his people. So then Emmett goes back into the Lego movie itself to bring about this new information that he discovered in the real world about what's going on. And he goes and he becomes the master builder that he's always been wanting to be. And he goes and he starts turning the tide again against the bad guys. And then it comes down to a final confrontation between Emmett and Lord Business. And it looks like Lord Business is getting the best of him. And this is where the movie just is brilliant. It cuts back to Will Ferrell, who, as I said, regular dad, wants things the way he wants it, stops and looks at what his son has created. His son has created masterpieces, just like he has. They're not normal. They're combinations of captains and pirates and ships and Batmobiles and colorful Crazy Kitty type Legos. And he's created a world where he's bringing in characters from all different groups to come together. And then he takes a look at Lord Business, because Lord Business is in there. He looks at Lord Business and takes a look at it, and then notices just then and there, Lord Business is wearing the exact same outfit he is and looks exactly like he does. And at that moment, it clicks to his dad. He understands what's going on. He stops what he's doing. He looks at his son, says, "Did you do all this yourself?" "Yes." and they have a heart-to-heart talk. And the dad realizes what he's been doing is that he needs to be a bit more open to letting his son play with Legos, because that is, in essence, what Legos are. It's bonding between parents and children through play and creativity. Not just, you can build this. Great. That's great. It is. It's great. If you've ever seen a Lego thing, as I said, it's very complicated. It takes a long time. And you get a sense of accomplishment when you do it. But you also get an idea when your son or daughter comes to you and says, Daddy, look what I made. It's a combination of like a motorcycle spaceship. And it's cool. And so while they're having this conversation in the real world, Lord Business and Emmett are having a conversation that's similar. And Emmett is able to convince Lord Business that he's special, and that creativity is special and needs it. And that's where the good guys win. Not through some big slugfest where the bad guy falls to his death. A conversation between a father and a son, between a nemesis and the hero. A conversation which could be utilized more in the real world, as it were, to solve other problems instead of battles, stuff like that. Yes, I know we're too far gone, I'm not going to get in the government, stuff like that. But conversations are powerful. Okay? And this film, the Lego Movie, shows one of the best parent-child relationships all wrapped together in a fantastically animated, fun film. And everything goes good again. The dad understands where his son's coming from. The bad guy understands where the good guy's coming from. The good guy understands where the bad guy's coming from. In the end, it's all happy and done with. And that's the movie. That's why Lego Movie is brilliant. And that's why Lego Movie deserves the animated feature nomination for the Oscars, which they did not get. Technicality that they lost it on, probably. But it doesn't mean that it didn't deserve it. It did deserve a nomination. And I will stick with that. And that leads me to something real quick. I know I'm going into 2.5 hour length now, but I just have a lot to say. First of all, I just got to get in here and say, Kelly Tool says, have to run, but caught a bit. Yay, Lego. All right, so good. And then MJ had a conversation, which I'm actually going to get into in a second. So that was my in-depth discussion about the Lego Movie and why it deserves to be in the Oscars. But it's not, unfortunately, so who knows what's going to happen. But I think I can understand why, and hopefully maybe it'll win Everything is Awesome for Best Song. At least it'll win at least one Oscar, and that would be fantastic. I'm going to pull for it, and probably, despite what other people say, I'm going to vote. And this is the only one I'm going to tell you. I'm going to vote for Everything is Awesome to win the Oscar. That will be my pick. I'll tell you that right now. So that just leads me real quick to something that MJ just wrote before I finish up this whole conversation about the Oscars and this Dylan Knows. MJ writes, at some point, the Academy is going to have to recognize comic book movies in the big categories, writing if nothing else, but eventually the acting as well. You can't tell me there was a dry eye in the house during Guardians of the Galaxy when Groot made his sacrifice. I agree 100%. As expected, because MJ and I tend to think about similar things when it comes to comic book movies like that. I believe Guardians of the Galaxy should have been nominated for Best Picture. It should have been nominated maybe for Best Writing. I can understand why maybe nothing else in directing, cinematography, actor, actress, so on and so forth. And that's the thing. Comic book movies, sci-fi movies are that type of film that, the Oscars don't like to look at when it comes to, there's always changes to it. Return of the King won big. That was more along the lines of the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy. And it got nominated for some things as well. And there have been other things that popped up here and there. But let's face it, what are the highest grossing films? It's sci-fi films, fantasy films, comic book films. Maybe some romantic films in there as well, but mostly comedies. Once again, all fun. Stuff that needs to have fun. And just because it comes from comic books, which still has that onus that comic books are for kids, which is BS. Comic books are for everybody, for men, women, children. It needs to be for everybody. And comics are. If you still believe in that, go to a freaking comic store, all right? You will see they have a kids section. Then you will see they have a section where there's like no superhero comics. There's comics about spies, um, Girl Scouts, you know, stuff from TV shows, and you have your superheroes, yeah. And there's good writers, good artists. The stories are brilliant. Guardians of the Galaxy was a fun movie. It was one of the top critically acclaimed films of all time. So why didn't it get any nominations? You think if you are nominating for Best Pictures of the Year, why isn't a critically acclaimed film in the running? Because that's not how the voting works. The voting works a different way. I'd love to see if Guardians of the Galaxy got any love, you know? And the Oscars just still has this stuffy, when it even comes with the diversity. We were able to break the diversity wall a little bit, but now sort of coming back up again. Is that going to happen now? Comic book movies are the future. If you've looked at what's coming through 2020, there's like 50 comic book movies coming out between now and 2020. 50. That might be a little bit high, but I'm not exaggerating. It's like every year, 2 to 3 comic movies are going to be coming out a year. And then on top of that, you throw in stuff like a Star Wars. Star Wars is going to try to come out every year also. Star Trek, is going to be doing stuff like that. There might be more fantasy coming out, Hunger Games, Divergent, all these other things as well. You've got all these big films which make a ton of money, which everybody loves. And critics really sometimes they love it too. And it should have been nominated for Best Picture. Now, the whole reason that a few years ago that the Oscars decided to open wide the Best Picture so you have at least upwards of 10 nominees is because their ratings were dropping. And the reason why is because listen to the movies that are nominated this year. American Sniper, okay, that probably won this weekend. It's based on a popular book. It's a true life story. Okay, that's up there. Birdman, one of these really weird, bizarre acting movies that not a lot of people know about, a weird, strange film. Boyhood, a film about a boy who grows over a period of 12 years, following him from boyhood to adulthood. The Grand Budapest Hotel, a slapstick comedy that takes place in a hotel in Hungary or some foreign country. The Imitation Game, a story about a gay Nazi codebreaker. Selma, a story about Martin Luther King, and not his whole story, just the Selma marches. The Theory of Everything, a story about Stephen Hawking and his early life. And Whiplash, which I think is about drums, a kid learning the drums. Has any of those movies made a lot of money? American Sniper, maybe. Birdman made some. But where is Captain America? Where is Guardians of the Galaxy? Where is Mockingjay Part 1? Yeah, I don't know. They're not there. They are the highest grossing movies of the year. They are fans of the people who love these movies. They're the ones who go see these movies, and they make a lot of money. Now, all these movies in here, there's nothing wrong. These movies are all probably really, really good and deserve their nominations. But to be honest, how many of those films have you seen or will go see? If, say, American Sniper wins, or if Grand Budapest Hotel wins for Best Picture, or Imitation Game wins for Best Picture, or Selma wins for Best Picture, are you going to go see it? Probably not. Wait for DVD? Probably not. Cable? Maybe. Would you end up seeing the movie? Probably not. And that's just because and I'm not speaking for everybody, because I know there are people out there who've probably seen all those. Lisa Marie Bowman has probably seen all those movies. And that's cool. That's one of the reasons why I want her to do the show, because she's probably seen every one of these movies. Patrick has probably seen a good amount of these movies as well. And he knows what he's talking about too. I just haven't. Are there any of those in there I want to see? Sure. I want to see Birdman. I want to see Boyhood. I want to see Selma. That's really about it. That's all I'm really interested in watching. So if you want to get more people to watch the Oscars, why don't you throw us a bone every once in a while? Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier, Mockingjay Part 1, any of the Harry Potter movies. You've done it a few times. They threw Dark Knight in there one year. They threw Return of the King in there, which it ended up winning a bunch of times. But really, that's about it. If you want to get more people to watch, you might want to nominate pictures that not only people like, but are critically acclaimed also. And Guardians of the Galaxy was one of the most critically acclaimed films of the year. And yet it only has, what, two nominations? And that's all for visual and makeup, which it was going to get nominated for anyway. So MJ, yes, I agree with you. There's a lot of stuff going on. These stories are really good. Winter Soldier was an amazing spy thriller. Great storyline. I would like to see that get nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay. Once again, not knocking any of the movies that were nominated for that. But comic book movies are huge, and you've got to start considering them for these situations. And on that note, I'm going to stop because I'm hitting the 2.5 hour mark here. I wasn't expecting to go 2.5 hours, and I had my consistent 3 viewers, and I also had a bunch of interactions on Twitter, stuff like that. I appreciate it. I really do. I like it. And maybe I'll start doing this more often because I really enjoyed this. I wish I had a little bit more interaction with you guys, but you know what? I understand it's a weird time. So at this point, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to check out and see how my son's doing. I hope you enjoyed it. Come back next Sunday, probably in the afternoon, probably about 4 o'clock-ish for Dylan Knows International. We'll be discussing the best end of the world scenario and an episode I'm going to entitle That's Armageddon, where we're going to discuss what would be the best apocalypse to live through. Dylan knows. Gotta love it. Have a good Sunday.